Good morning. Good morning. All right, there's a video. Let's make sure we're live, and then I'll deal with my wardrobe issue. 1 second. See if we're live. There we are. Yep. Hi. Good morning. All right, there's a hair sticking up right here. Right, you see it? I see it. I'll try and ignore it. All right. Good morning, y'all. It's a cold one today. Cold one. I'll show you. That's my water. That's water. It was. It's ice. It will be water again soon. Good morning. I hope you had a great weekend. I did. Very busy. Very, very busy. Whole bunch of videos for you. So I've been chopping up a bunch of stuff for you. The Jason commentary ones are the ones that are taking a little bit longer to get up because they're hours. But they're ready. They just got to upload. And I did get you the rest of the convoy. Brendan going up there and talking. So all the Freedom Corp clips. And a couple extras are in there, and I did a clip of the veteran, Chris, and his testimony. I put it up on YouTube and Twitter. You can check that out. It was still really heartbreaking. Even going through the videos as I'm making my clips, things were coming back to me. It's going to be us this morning, so I wanted to kind of recap what we did last week quickly, and we'll touch on the next couple days. We've got it looks like it's going to be Windsor coming up next, and then Alberta after that. And I also wanted to chat about, we got a question in our chat here. So first, good morning. Hey Clay. Hey Terry, welcome back, guys. It's awesome to see you. Railroaded, good morning. You know it's cold today. It's cold more for you, right? A little bit more up north. Good morning, Denise. Good morning. Good morning, Jay. McG. Yeah, we can talk about that. What are you talking about, though? We heard some infighting and stuff like that, but I'm not sure about perjury. So you got some more detail? Looks like you do. Can you comment and summarize the soapbox nonsense from last week? Lots of grandstanding and QAnon insanity on the stand. Jay, McG, you might think that. I don't disagree with your perspective. I understand where you're coming from. Most certainly, if a lot of that was news for you and the first time you heard it or the first time you got in depth with it, I can see how you feel this way. But Jay, I don't know what you're talking about when you say perjury. I didn't catch any perjury at all. I caught perjury the weeks before, minor ones, contradictions. One person says there were officers in the room at the meeting, Steve K. And then the OPS, PLT, or was it OPP? There was another person who said, I don't remember those people there. But it turns out they just got some bad information because the information they received said people weren't there. But we had corroboration that, yeah, sure enough, those officers were there. We've had stuff like that, Jay. I have no idea what you're talking about yesterday or last week. Each witness had their version, and all versions worked out. I didn't find perjury. Can you maybe point to a specific witness and a specific piece of their testimony or an event, or what is it that you thought was perjury? Because hearing from Farfada, Steve, and then hearing from Diagonalong, Jeremy, neither one of them said anything that was untrue. So I'm not sure where you're getting this QAnon stuff from. Maybe you're stuck in the States. I don't know what you're talking about. Refresh my memory. We watched every minute. We took notes. We did catch, issues between the players and stuff like that, but I don't know what you're talking about, Jay. Okay? We can talk if you want to tell me more. Morning Railroaded. Bright and early. What I don't know is staggering. Good morning. Good morning to you, bud. Look at that. Lots of love flying around here. And Jay, you can get in on this love. Just, let's understand where you're coming from. Morning, Calgary long shots. Hi. You're new. Nice to meet you. I'm assuming Calgary. And what's a long shot? Is this a sport thing? Is this a political thing? What's your long shot? Are you into bows? Minus 17 here. Yeah, it's definitely minus here. Any idea? I'm going to look in my executive my domestic executive producer, 15. We're balmy, railroaded. We're balmy. You got 17. Enjoy. Denise, you're just bragging. 9 in Barrie, tropical. Kick off your sandals and have a good time. Oh, look, Jay. Okay, buddy, what do you got here? Perjury is when they lie about not being told to leave. Flyers everywhere, direct evidence. They were all coached carefully. Tamara did not testify truthfully. Okay, Jay. Okay, I'll give you a point there. Half a point though, okay, Jay? Because here's why. Perjury, you're using the word a little bit too loosely here. You have to have a direct, corroborated, fabricated lie. There has to be some intent behind it. What they did say around notice was they weren't directly told. Okay. And flyers, Jay, as was actually established already, it's not legal notice. Okay. So the both sides had flyers and stuff like that they were using. OPS were putting out notices saying, hey, we don't think you're supposed to be here. You should leave. But Jay, as we found out last week, you can't have a notice supersede charter rights, and you can't have a notice establish law. So if there was nothing illegal going on, the notices are just a piece of paper. But with that said, Jay, I do want to come from your perspective as well. Did they know they should leave or were wanting to leave, or people wanted them to leave, or the city wanted them to leave? Well, of course. From the moment they were rolling in, they were unwelcome, uninvited. Of course. Residents let them know, for sure. Did they say, hey, I want you to leave? For sure. Did police say, probably best that you guys leave? For sure. And did the city, during their deals that they were working on through Steve K and stuff, all express a desire for them to leave? For sure, Jay. But Jay, they weren't illegal. You may not have liked them. They may have been annoying. They may have been loud. But again, they weren't illegal. We heard nothing. We had 0 unlawful charges. That came out of the city and the OPS. They didn't charge anybody with unlawful assembly, unlawful protesting, unlawful. What you got was tickets for a lot of parking, and then the normal grumblings of a crowd. My friend, we get assaults, we get people hurting people during Canada Day. Whenever you get a large group together, you get that. This was a very peaceful one in comparison to a lot of other stuff we've already seen. And Jay, we've heard this. It came out very clear. So look, I get you that you want to just say, hey, here's a notice, we want you to leave. And if you don't, you're unlawful or something. It doesn't work that way at all, Jay. The charter is very powerful. The charter supersedes it all. And one day you're going to be very happy that that is the way we do this, because you may be on the other side. Governments change. You may be on the other side one day and say, look, here's my line in the sand. I do not want the government to cross this line. And what's going to happen if you want to go there? We just give you a piece of paper that was Xeroxed out of the police station. You have to leave. My friend, it doesn't work that way. But I do see where you're coming from. Now, it's not perjury, because what they were doing was being careful and exactly, like you said, coached. And I would be careful with the word coached, because there's a legal definition of coached and there's prep. They're very similar, but coached has a illegal and criminal intent to it. Coached means you're telling them what to say. I don't think that happened. With all witnesses, there's prep. This is a process we're taught in law school to go through. A good lawyer will do it. They'll do it many times. They'll do it from an adversarial approach. They'll do it from a comfortable approach. They're going to prep. Nothing wrong with prep, my friend. There's a lot of prepping going on every single witness you've seen, from the OPS, the city, etc. And there's nothing wrong with that. Coaching is a very specific thing, though. And if you're alleging coaching, you're going to have to back that up. So the two things you said in here are perjury. No, there's no perjury yet. And coaching. No, I think you're stretching on both of those. Tamara did not testify truthfully. Maybe. How do we know? This is what testimony is for. We're going to have to get more. But we don't have anything that says she was lying. Is that going to come out next? It doesn't look like the witnesses that are lined up next are going to be to rebut any of the convoy. So, look, maybe what's going on here, Jay, is you're learning things for the first time. don't like it at all, and I get it. But you also have to understand we do have laws and a charter, and just because you don't like something doesn't mean we shouldn't honor our charter. Okay, so let's try some more. I do see some more messages from you coming up, so we'll see where we're going with this. Bowder is as crazy as they come. His MOU. Yeah, there's a lot of people that would agree with that, Jay. Look, I think there's a statement there that's pretty clear. I think there's a lot of people that would agree with you. I wouldn't have done it. I wouldn't have done the MOU. I think, look, I wouldn't have done it. But he's got the bear hug, right? He's not the main convoy. He's bear hug 1.0 and 2.0. He's not the main convoy. So when there's a protest and multiple groups show up, MOU, I wouldn't have done that. I didn't think that was a good idea. I didn't think that was a good idea at all. But what you're going to do, it's non-binding, doesn't actually mean anything. You can write an MOU, have a bunch of people sign it. It may make you feel better. It should have been actually labeled petition. I think petition would have been a better term. Because a petition, you can have one side say lots of people supporting it, and here are the things we're talking about. So maybe if it was called a petition, it might have went better. But that's really what it was, because an MOU requires both sides, Jay. So it's not really an MOU. Poor titling. And it should have been a memorandum of demands or petitions, not an understanding, because understanding requires two people to understand. They never had that. So poor title, and also the document itself, I wouldn't have done. I think it was silly. I think sticking to one message would have been good. But again, this was not the main group. This was a separate group, wasn't it there, Jay? Dog Club, long shots. Calgary long shots is a dog. I wouldn't have gotten there, Calgary. I wouldn't have gotten there from that. Unless there's a breed called long shots. I don't know that. But really nice to meet you. Thank you for joining us. I hope you enjoy. And we've got a week of Windsor and Alberta. It looks like Coots and Windsor coming up, Calgary. Jay, I'm on the Love Brother as a native Albertan and a patriot. Cool. The EA was needed to protect our country. This is where we disagree, Jay. And because we're using the evidence that came out, not feelings for us, or at least for me. I'm using the evidence that came out. I kept an open mind, and I was looking for the government to justify. So, Jay, unless you've gone through it all and you can point to specific things that you say the EA was justified for, and remember, there can be no existing laws, and we had several police officers, not convoy, several police officers say we had all these tools, and we were actually already executing, and we actually already had a plan before we even knew the EA was coming down. And that plan that they were talking about is the one they used. The EA gave them a couple little tools that they found useful, but they all testified it was useful, but not necessary. So, Jay, I'm sorry, there's zero foundation. If you think there was something else there, please share it. But we haven't heard it from the actual witnesses, and we haven't seen it from the actual evidence. Unless your evidence is CBC, we are not on the same page, because we're just looking at what's coming out in the inquiry itself. But I'm happy to look at what else you've got, even if it's CBC, because I'll help you understand how they're maybe showing you something that's not quite there. Good morning, Railroaded. Good morning. Good morning, Denise. Freeland went to USA last week and borrowed $500 billion at 3% interest. WTF. This didn't make the fake news. Really? Why are we borrowing? Oh, no. Is she signaling that we are heading to depression, recession, harder, more inflation? Is she signaling? Whoa. 3% interest. The interest doesn't matter. It's slave labor, taking away our labor. And the U.S. is in a position to borrow money. That's also interesting. They're just as deep in a hole as we are. Oh, sorry, Denise. You misspelled borrow. You meant printed. You meant last week and printed $500 billion. Gotcha. Because they're broke too. So major collapse, both will collapse. Canada collapses, U.S. goes with them. U.S. goes, Canada goes. It's weird, isn't it, that we're borrowing a bunch of money? Hey, Jay, let's see what you got here. The charter does not protect any illegal. You're wrong. Jay, you're dead wrong. You're actually dead wrong. You don't know the law. Not only does it supersede bylaws, it supersedes all laws. And this is why laws are struck down all the time, because they are found to be a violation of the charter. Jay, you don't know the law. You really should stop talking at this point, my friend, because what you're doing is misinformation. Tread lightly. Misinformation is not a cool thing. There were many instances. No, there wasn't, dude. And you're being very selective. There's bylaws, there's quasi-laws, there's criminal laws, and laws are broken all the time. Laws are broken right now without a convoy. So, dude, I think you're way reaching, and I'm starting to wonder if you're a bot at this point, because these arguments are wrong. The charter supersedes everything, my friend. Everything. So you're going to have to come with a notwithstanding clause argument in order to change my mind on that. And that's for the government to define, not YouTube, Twitter people. But happy to look at what evidence you got. What is the notwithstanding clause argument? If you don't know what that is, you don't know the charter. Higher Railroad. Over 400, actually, JJ, 400. So you're wrong on that number too. So not 200, 400. And about 350 of them charged after the fact, all minor offenses. And again, those are charges mean that the law is working. The fact that you're being charged under a law, an existing law, means we didn't need the EA. So, dude, you're taking a big leap here from a couple incidences of mischief to revoke or invoking our ultimate law, the War Measures Act. I don't think you understand what you're actually talking about here and asking for. Please pay attention to what we're doing here. You can go back and replay everything and read the testimony. If you want to read the actual transcripts, they're available. But you are definitely not dealing with proper information here, Jay. Provincial and federal law supersede. Absolutely. It goes in hierarchy, Jay, and the Supreme's at the top, and then municipal bylaws, which are stuff that can be done by councillors without even a judicial review, are at the bottom. In fact, maybe your household is at the bottom. So the rules you make at your home level fall below even bylaws. Yeah, you don't know the hierarchy. You should understand it, because I have a feeling you're a very intelligent person. But you should understand at least the hierarchy of how the laws do stack on top of each other. And our charter is at the top. Peaceful. I was there. Good. So were a lot of people. Horns were insane. Sure. I witnessed harassment of elderly people wearing masks. Well, then shame on you for not reporting it, because we don't have any elderly people wearing masks that were victims. So shame on you, Jay, for not reporting it. That falls under bad bystander. So if you witnessed that, shame on you for not taking action, because we don't have those charges. Charges, not convictions. You can absolutely, Denise. And then Denise, and there's also a little bit behind it too. If a police charges something, sometimes, a little bit more to it. But yeah, you're 100% right. A charge is a charge. But also, this Jay guy hasn't gone through the charges and doesn't actually understand that non-convoy participants were also several charges. Lots of residents were charged for many things. It's just, for some reason, one side completely ignores the reality of it. And it's unfortunate, because it's all there. They actually produced it. The documents are in the database. You can go see it. There were several charges from residents onto protesters. Charter's not on your side. Okay, so you know what? I think it's time for a timeout. You don't know what you're talking about there, buddy. Jay, sorry, but you actually don't know the law, and this is what's called misinformation. So there's a timeout. I don't know if that means anything to you, but to me it does. Because that's misinformation, my friend. You cannot take democracy. You absolutely can. It's actually our duty to. It's our duty when we have a government that's running out of control. It's our duty to, Jay. So sit back, relax, maybe watch this stream a little bit longer, go through some of my commentary. I really, really like and enjoy talking to the other side. It's rare that you show up, but you do have to come with real information, not misinformation. And I'm happy to look at your sources. Just you can't be the source. We have, and sorry about Jay, because you've just misstated so many times here. It's just blatantly obvious that your source is different, and I'm happy to try and rectify that with you, but I can't do it through this chat like this. We've heard testimony that no charges were laid from 100%. Not only did we hear testimony, it was corroborated by the OPS. They gave us the number of 0. There was 5 assaults during the 3 weeks, the total, but they didn't break down the assaults by who. We did see an assault captured on video of of a young girl being assaulted by a resident when they took the sign away. That was a charge. So that was one of the charges. We do know that. I don't know any more about the other 4. They don't release the details, which is really odd, because if it was convoy, they would tell us their name. But we just know about 5 assaults. That's it. The entire 3 weeks. There's more than 5 assaults on Canada Day. Just so you know. Because people are people. People bump into each other, get grumpy, and people, take things too far sometimes. It has nothing to do with the protest. There you go, Jill. And look, it's up for the government to prove it now. Okay? Not J, McG. It's up to the government to prove it. And I understand that people are annoyed, and I understand that there's a very rich civil claim on the line here for a lot of people. I get it all, Jay. I get it all. I understand. Sounds like is watching clips and hearing a little bit worse than that, Railroad. It sounds like Jay has got an interest in this for sure. For sure. Because it's more than reading clips, proactively going to streams and putting it in there. Got a desire to get that info out. But sorry, Jay, you just have to read the inquiry, watch the inquiry, get some good commentary on the inquiry to understand that it wasn't true. Sorry, the waking up is tough. The main opinion, it seems, of most people who support the convoy did not support the MOU as well. 100%, because again, it was a different group. But the MOU, as we heard, again, it's not even a binding anything, guys. It's just an attempt to have a more official protest sign. Like instead of a picketing sign, they just kind of took it, feel more official. But they did admit they had no lawyers involved. They kind of just drafted it up, and they misused words, like we're seeing here with this J person. Perjury, coaching, like misusing words, like legal words that actually have meaning. People do that. Happens all the time. Kind of why I went to law school, so I can learn that, know the difference. It is important. And as we're finding out, justification is going to be an important word everybody learns, and is what we're going through the inquiry for. Justification. Good morning, Prairie. Welcome. Did you have farmer sausage this weekend? You had chicken on Friday. No, that was chicken Thursday, so I don't know what you had Friday. Saturday, Sunday is a blur. Yeah, let me know. Did you have any farmer sausage? Did you butterfly it? Prairie. All right. Okay, let me see what the J here. The courts only can strike down laws, not convoys. Yeah, you're not wrong. And what law do you think the convoy struck down? Didn't strike anything down. Yeah, you're not wrong. Courts absolutely can. Judicial review, judicial findings, precedents, for sure. And that's where most laws go to die, including a whole bunch that were violations of the charter. Just go search Canley charter, find it. There's a whole bunch. There's an entire section in law school about this. Where is it confirmed Freeland did this? Yeah, Terry, let's find out. Interesting. Yeah, $500 billion. I'd love some more information. I'm not saying she did it, but it's very curious. If she did do it, why is Canada borrowing from the U.S.? The U.S. is also in their own troubles. And GM friends, good morning, Barbara. Good morning, Barbara. Azario, I saw your tweet this morning. Thank you. You are great. Thank you. You set the bar high, and I'll do my best to maintain that. Let me just go check the stream, folks. We want to get a nice, good HD stream this morning. Okay, there it is. Let me set up. Good morning, everybody. It was a wonderful week last week. We got a lot of new information, things we didn't know about, things that were embarrassing for all sides, all people involved, things that were not embarrassing. It was great to see some cooperation around what it was that the main organizers were trying to do. Not completely successful, but we also found out a lot more about what the government was expecting of them. They were expecting them to take control of strangers, complete strangers. The government themselves said a majority, about 70%, was the main convoy. The other 30% was a bunch of other groups, and they wanted them to take control of everything. I think that was unreasonable and unrealistic. But now we get to see some more. We're going to Windsor next, folks. Why did the officers nod their head and say good morning to me and my 9-year-old granddaughter as we headed into the red zone instead of cautioning me of because it wasn't illegal? Every fifth, like 100%. And we heard a lot of stories about, for example, media being swarmed, but media has camera and they didn't show a single swarm. we had testimony from many people. Stunt Dummy was on the ground with video showing a way different story. And he went there masked, double vaxxed, believing the government completely. And he went there to show the stories that he was hearing on CBC that his people were arguing were not true. So he went there for this purpose of finding and showing more of the truth. And then he found the real truth. Not a single flag, no racist. Everybody was there. All flags were there, by the way, rainbow and all. And nobody was harassed or anything like that. Anything else that happened on the fringes of stuff would have been normal things that happened regardless of the convoy. If there were elderly people harassed for their mask, those were jerks. That would have been jerks anyways. And they could have been residents too. It doesn't mean anything. Yeah. The officers were patrolling a peaceful protest. I saw him here from Senator. Oh, Dennis. Okay. Denise Batters. I am waiting to hear from. Okay. Please share more information. 3% interest. That's a lot of money. Morning, Barbara. Feel the love. She was in secret meeting last week. She's always in secret meetings. Always in secret meetings. Get an MP in there. Maybe we can open a door or two, see what's going on. Thanks, Denise. John. Batter's obviously a good source. Yeah, well, if he's a senator. Sure. Official. We'll wait for that. No problem, Terry. Good morning, everybody. Morning. Right, Jay, this is my last one, and then I'm going to have to jump on. I know the charter better than any of your... Really? Well, so far you're rude. Mischief is a criminal offense. No, it's not. It's not a criminal offense. Dude, you even know the difference between summary and indictable. Then I'm not trying to debate with you, but you're very, very hard here. Not protecting any charter clause. Well, because you don't know it. The notwithstanding clause is the one I asked you to defend, and so you don't know it. The notwithstanding clause, as you said, if you know the charter better than any of these truckers, is the only way for you to violate it. And it's a high standard, and it has specific tests, and we've established that a long time ago. Many times the government was successful at that, using the notwithstanding clause. And when that happens, you have zero beefs out of me or people like me, because it's a high standard, it's a high test, and when it's passed, I don't have a problem with it. They didn't use it. They didn't try to. They didn't even bother with it this time, Jay. So good luck with the rest of your stuff here. Going to court, not honking horns, disturbing the peace. Go to court, not honking horns, disturbing the peace. If you have any idea about the injunction, you read it. There was over 20 requests in it. The only one that was granted was the no modified horns and aftermarket horns. The actual factory horns were still allowed. You don't understand what you're talking about there, Jay. Oi, see a troll. Okay, yeah, I think we've got the idea here, Prairie. If it continues, we'll politely ask him to leave. Her, him, them, to leave. This is why protesting questions of flyers of police. I know they did not believe 100%. And Terry, I think you or someone else in my comments said, yeah, normally they're supposed to cite the actual laws, but there was none. There was no laws that were being broken, so they couldn't cite a statute, they couldn't cite a subsection, they couldn't cite anything. And you're right, Terry. Normally, you'll see a notice, and then it'll say bylaw number 5678. Okay, because it's telling you, it's directing you to the actual law. 100% right. That wasn't on there because it wasn't illegal. Some people don't like it. We get it, Jay. You didn't like it, but it doesn't mean it was illegal. Oh, my. All right. Barbara. Oh, wow. Everybody. All my regulars here. Joe, good morning, Joe. Welcome, Joe. Welcome, Joe. No scrape. You finish your coffee. 100%, Terry. Foreign charges mean nothing. We didn't even see convictions. They don't come up with convictions. Give me convictions. And even then, Terry, the whole point is they're being handled under the existing law. So you don't need an EA. Oh, they're in my ear, folks. They're going to be getting ready soon. They're going to be getting ready. It's too early for bickering. Sorry, Barbara. You're right. Let's just move on. I think it was an attempt to add some spice to the show this morning. It might have worked a little bit. But it also helped us see a bit from another perspective and understand maybe people do feel that way. And they're not wrong in how they feel, but the more they know, the more they should understand that maybe their feelings were just as artificial as the narrative that's falling apart. Good morning, Railroad and Joe. Okay, I won't be able to catch up. What do we got here? Yes, yeah, smash it, please, guys. It all helps. Every single like, all that helps. I might get a dislike or two this morning, but go ahead and give me a like, and let's get on with this. We're doing the city mayor of Windsor. One thing interesting about the mayor of Windsor, he worked with Marco. Him and Marco went and circumvented the OPP in order to get things moving, which was weird. We heard from the OPP saying it was weird that the mayor of Windsor and Marco were the ones that sent a letter to the minister instead of going directly to the OPP for the assistance around the bridge. Maybe we'll get some clarification around why that happened. Why was that their channel? Why didn't they use the official channels that were well established? Does it even mean anything? Maybe it was just a convenience thing. Or was it Marco calling the mayor saying, hey, let's go ahead and take the next step. Let's get the provincial minister of public safety involved and kick this off, when the normal procedure would have been mayor to police to OPP. So maybe we'll get some of those answers. We do have the mayor followed by, I believe, Windsor Police and OPP. I can check that again for you and have it for next break, but the mayor's first. Actually, I have the tabs right here.
Order a lot.
Nope. Ran out of time. Enjoy. Thank you very much. And we'll see how this goes. Have a good morning.
The public.
Thank you all. Most of you stayed. That was just a Starlink one this time. I still had power. And then all of a sudden I got the black screen. Hey. Comes back up pretty quick though. And I was typing the message about Stellantis there because he kind of just name dropped him a few times, didn't he? First, they called him within an hour to complain that their whole business was coming to an end. And then name dropped him about a $6 billion investment with LG and batteries. Doesn't sound like a business that's about to crumble for a weekend worth of blockage. But there you go, Stellantis. And as he was talking about that, I was typing it. There goes my internet. But anyways, some interesting things we heard from him, no doubt. A lot of blaming, skipping the prime minister or the premier. Got some text messages with Marco involved. Kind of knew about that already. Sounds very weak. Our entire economy is going to collapse nationally if this one bridge is down for more than 72 hours. None of that's true, Mayor. We know none of that's true. But the big breaking news this morning is Doug Ford. He doesn't have to go. He's got parliamentary privilege. The judge upheld his privilege. The judgment basically said, as long as the parliament's in session, and as long as that privilege applies, and he doesn't want to go, can't make him. Why is he distancing himself here? Because if he could actually help Ontario and help the truckers and help Freedom and help all that stuff like we would expect from him, why doesn't he just voluntarily go? He was asked to go. He could have gone. He fought it. Why doesn't he want to go? I'm confused. I think maybe he just doesn't believe that this inquiry is trustworthy. Maybe he's hedging all bets that even if it goes, for Freedom and the recommendations come out, then it would have done it anyways without him. So he doesn't see his involvement in that. But if it goes the other way, where it was anti-freedom and the Rolu Commission has become this new word of anti-protest, anti-freedom, and he testified during it, he might feel he contributed to that. I don't know. I'm trying to put my mind in his mind to wonder, why would you not want to contribute to the Rolu Commission, which may define freedom and protesting for us, or at least limits on the government, not define our protests. We didn't do anything wrong. Define the limits on the government. Does he not think it will go that way? I don't think he knows, right? I don't think he knows, but Liberal commissioner, maybe he's thinking that way. Maybe he knows they're just going to roll out all of this national security crap. Maybe he just doesn't want to be part of it. Some chatters thought maybe it'd be an embarrassment for him. So he's trying to avoid some embarrassment. Maybe he should have stepped up a lot stronger and said, you don't need the EA, like, at all. Maybe he should have came in as a province more. Maybe he just stood up and said, you can't do that. What you're even talking about doing in the public order stuff on the provincial level is not even allowed. And we should have heard from him, but he doesn't want to be there, and nobody's going to force him to be there. I don't even think public opinion would force him at this stage. But, speculation is all I got at this stage on why he's not there. All I can suggest is maybe he doesn't want to be associated with it if it goes the wrong way. But even then, could you not stand up strongly against it, Ford, even if that happened? Interesting. I do like the rhetoric I'm hearing, though, about joining Smith and Moe, and I'm surprised. I thought maybe BC might be the third province to jump on that movement. I'm surprised it's Ontario, but I'm very pleased. So if some of that rhetoric is coming to fruition and Ontario's willing to start standing up against the federal government, well, that's good news. I don't care if he doesn't show up to the inquiry then. Like, maybe he's got a different plan. Maybe he has a different battle. I'm excited. Some of the rhetoric coming out of Smith is exciting. Is she calling for another convoy? Why? I saw somebody put together a video kind of implying that she's calling for another convoy. That would be interesting. But let's keep an ear out for that one. How we really corroborated this morning was Ford is not having to go. He could still go voluntarily, but he's not going to. He fought it, so we're not going to see that. This particular witness, I didn't like him. Right off the bat, we got authoritative responses from him. We got kind of words that were leading down the road of dictatorship, the Stellantis stuff. Let's go. So you're talking about another convoy there, railroad with Smith? Sure. If she's doing it, if Moe's behind it, if Ontario gets behind it, where's Manitoba? Have a clear road all the way there, right? But yeah. Because I think at this stage, I think it's pretty clear to anybody that paid attention to any of this inquiry, there was no foundation for the use of the EA. Full stop. Like, full stop. And I think at this point, maybe a lot of people are feeling a lot more emboldened and more comfortable about repeating, because the first time was legit, peaceful, and kind of effective, and that we got this kind of push going. So maybe now the next one is, no, we've got far more confidence that we're not moving. And if you need to get violent, then you're taking that mistake again. Terry, this business, this is a mayor, is all about big business, and he slipped that in there. LG's to Stellantis, $6 billion. Couldn't say anything at the time. So thanks a lot, Mayor. You just told us you're not being transparent. Do these witnesses hear themselves sometimes? You just told us you were withholding information, like business-related information, during the national emergency, according to you. I think it's very peculiar that any company is calling anybody within an hour of something starting. Are you joking? There's so many snowstorms there. There's so many accidents. There's so many other ways that this thing can be blocked. Repairs, other maintenance. Are you joking? This is not true, people. There's a script. There's strings. Why is any company, regardless if they're doing a $6 billion investment or not, calling the mayor within an hour to direct concerns about business loss? Something so fishy about that one. And then circumventing the normal procedures of using the OPP. Why? OPP had the right data. As we've heard so many times the last few weeks, OPP had the right reports, they had the right information, and they deal with 200 protests a year, and some of them are in Windsor. So the OPP would have been like, what problem? This is something we deal with all the time. And then we hear the mayor talk about, we should learn from this and be more prepared. Mayor, you are lying. This is the one time I said perjury in here, because that is a lie. Every single city has emergency plans, and your city has plans because of protesting with the bridge. This is not the first or the last time you'll have to be faced with that. Your city also has emergency plans for snow. You also have emergency plans for large protests. You have emergency plans for unrest, natural events, massive events, national security events, even those. They're all there. So for you to even apply or suggest or tell us that the city of Windsor is lacking that, that's perjury. That's what perjury looks like. because that's not true. You have binders super thick, categories listed, checklists. They pre-existed. Of course they do. Everyone has them, and I know that. I've seen the county level ones. Everyone has that. Of course, we've learned from a lot of mistakes in the past. So that little line of questioning, that one I would call perjury, because implying that they had no emergency planning or preparedness in the city of Windsor is a lie. Skipped over the governor did offer, didn't provide, wasn't specific, and didn't say armed or not, did provide the assistance of the National Guard if asked for. One of those, hey, if you need help, we're right here. Under the whole economic trading, we got people on both sides of the borders that need stuff narrative. Wasn't gone any further, but it was there. And then we heard from our favorite witness that we'll never see on the stand, the tow trucks. Once again, they pulled up again. So not only does Ontario have tow trucks, Windsor had tow trucks. We now hear that tow trucks across the border were being offered. Maybe not specifically truck number 123, but here's a list of all our tow truck providers. And guess who wouldn't care as much about business in Ontario being affected them? Well, international tow truck drivers wouldn't care about not getting that deal from this guy in Ontario because he saw his truck and logo. What does he care? He doesn't operate there. So now we're hearing we have international partners providing tow trucks that would have had zero reason to be worried about their business, probably didn't need to be compelled other than the Benjamins, and would have done it. Of course, people. What world do you want to believe exists? One where you can't get a tow truck, or one where there's ample tow trucks around? Well, we know which one we live in, but here we go again. Cross-border tow trucks are available. And then there was something about a tow truck issue with traffic, and they had to get in there and get tow trucks out or something. I didn't quite catch all that because I was running around a bit, but there was something about they had to clear a tow truck issue. In either case, there's tow trucks everywhere. So, the one person we're not going to hear from is tow truck operator or business owner. We kind of heard one from Chris. Let me see what his name was again. The very, very first man, Chris Barber. We kind of heard from him because he was a business owner, trucker that, of course they're around. It's kind of weird. The government says it's so hard to find tow trucks. I think the truth is they found it hard to find tow truck participants that wanted to participate because they actually didn't agree with the government action. I think that's far more likely than anything else. But anyways, there we go. We're harping on tow trucks too now. Exactly. Where's Manitoba? Hey, Prairie. Yeah, where's Manitoba? You're right between. You're going to be, part of the road, Trans-Canada, right through Winnipeg. Well, around the perimeter. But anyways, you get the idea. Where's Manitoba on this? He admitted he didn't even talk to protesters. Of course, he skipped official channels. He's getting phone calls from Marco. He's getting phone calls from Stellantis. We already looked into Stellantis. They're working on global initiatives with the WEF. It's just one of the many things that is out in the public, and we can go look up. But again, they got that magic. It's called the mayor button. And boy, do they panic fast. Did they get their board together? How quickly does Stellantis work that they realize that they're in so much trouble? They call the mayor within an hour. Wow. I don't buy the call for distress from the local business. What I do believe is in order to produce this narrative, they absolutely needed the cooperation of public and private to create a situation where people can understand. You tell the people in Windsor their jobs are on the line, all of a sudden people in Windsor are a lot more accommodating to not having their jobs on the line. You tell enough people that a union this and union that and business this and business that are going to shut your jobs down in hours, you're going to actually create a whole whack of fear. Why are you doing that? Again, snowstorms will shut you down longer. Emergency lanes were open. We heard that testimony too. The city put in the barriers, not protesters. The city even complained about the cost of the barriers they were using to cause the problems in the traffic. Like the city of hypocrite leadership, not the people, but the leadership. And then we got companies with that magic phone number. Part of Michigan's problem was that the truckers were there to support the Canadian truckers. That's right. And their concern was their own protesters as well. That's right. And that's why the National Guard conversation came up very quickly, Eleanor, because the U.S. also wanted to quash any support and replication of the Freedom Convoy. It actually was in their best interest to assist the quelling of the Canadian one. Why they're so quick to offer like any resource, because a replication of it after a successful movement in Canada would have been a lot harder. But in either case, you're not wrong. They weren't doing it because they're trying to help the businesses. The businesses had Blue Water Bridge, they had the tunnel, they had Sarnia, they had plenty of ways to get across. And yes, just-in-time manufacturing and deliveries is a thing, but it does have buffers, and none of them fail in 72 hours. None of them fail in 72 hours. So that's all fake narrative you're hearing. Okay. Yep, he sure made those protesters sound scary. Can't talk to scary people. Never analyzed what was meant to a hill to die on. The die thing scared him. No, I don't think so. I think he's faking that, Terry. And the one person showed up at his house. Yeah, Terry, I think he's just repeating the narrative. He needs to kind of produce a big problem because some of the actions he took requires one. So till the day he dies, he's going to at least say he feared for everything, because he kind of has to. At this point, once you made your bed, you got to lie in it. And once you respond to a situation harshly, you now need a situation to justify it. So to the day he dies, he's going to fear for the life of all the people that were not hurt. And using existing laws to protect him too. He said he found his police cars in front of his house. I don't even think he even mentioned a snowball was thrown. So he didn't even mention people showed up, just the police. So like we're not that sensitive, and he was not in any danger. We don't do that. The protesting side is not interested in political casualties or political trauma or political anything. Not interested in that. That's not what this is about. Nor was it, nor will it. And they can keep trying to say it. Not going to make it happen. So Terry, I think he's doing fabrication there. I don't think he believes it, but till the day he dies, he has to say it. That fish was that long for the rest of his life because his actions were based on a fish of that size. He can't. He would be admitting to a few things that he'll never admit to. Lots of U.S. truckers supported. They certainly did. They certainly did. They certainly did. And one thing I want to talk about briefly here, because it's the end of the chats and I haven't gone to my starts. I'll save those for maybe the break. Truckers were targeted. There were 4 ways to cross the border with goods. I'll get into that a little bit later because it sounds like we're about to hit back. Oh, maybe not. The truckers were targeted. Ship captains, so boats were not. Airplane were not. Only airlines did some sort of mandates internally, but there was no government mandate on pilots. I know I'm a pilot. I never had one. I flew non-vax, no problem. Can cross the border, no problem. Pilots had exemptions. And then trains had exemptions too. Everybody had exemptions. They removed the exemptions for the truckers, and that's what caused it. Okay, to be clear, there's many ways to cross the border with goods, economic goods, and only the truckers were targeted, not any of the other ones. So I want people to understand that, yes, this is not about people having to get the mandates. The truckers had an exemption and it was removed. None of the other exemptions were removed, though. Not saying, you had to do them all to make it fine. I'm just saying it was targeted. There was a reason why truckers were provoked and targeted. And as we heard from Bridget's video at the time when it happened, it was harsh. It was harsh. They won't talk to her until she puts a mask on. Threatening police on her for coming home. It was harsh. Sorry about that noise, folks. If that kicks up again, I'll try and mute. It looks like a hot mic, or they're playing with the mics again. Hopefully we don't get French on the English.
Order a lot.
But here we go. Looks like we're here. Okay, enjoy. I'm going to go and grab a bite. Talk to you soon. Hey, there we go. There's our morning. There's our morning. Anybody really surprised with this witness? We kind of already knew a lot about him before we went in. He didn't play by the normal rules and had other things going on. Stellantis, etc. We heard about them before. It was the OPP that brought that up. Brought up the issues. Anyways, we heard about it before. All right, we got a lot going on in chat. Convoy 2.0. starting to materialize. Is the headline, sensationalized a bit by saying Convoy 2.0? I'm going to be careful because I'm not finding a ton of other sources for this right now. But we can quickly look at it. Why not? Let's quickly look at it because could be the beginning of something really fun. Okay, Danielle, what do you got going for us here? Let's see. Try and get the size for you. But it looks like somebody who's really close to Danielle is looking at starting one up. Now, this is 2 days ago, this report or this article. I have not found much else about it. It might be reading between the lines, making it bigger. But you read the whole article, they're doing stuff in Alberta surrounding the legislator building. Cable managed to... But where it gets fun is when we see things like this. Essentially, she is planning a Freedom Convoy 2.0, which is expected to not only be scarier for Trudeau, but also more powerful. So as I read through this entire article, it looks like something starting in Alberta. We're going to be dealing with the Alberta government for a bit, maybe get their support, and then start rolling with Saskatchewan. Okay, so very early, very early. I don't know enough. There is an article or a little picture here. At the bottom, it says convoy leaves at 12 and it's all cut off. I can't find the rest of this picture, and I went to this website and it's all old information. So I don't really know if this is a collection of old and new rumor and whatnot. But what I do like to see is right here that is an aide, somebody who knows Danielle, and CTV of all people are reporting on it. So local, maybe bigger after that, but at this stage I wouldn't say there's a 2.0 started or rolling or anything like that, but we'll certainly keep abreast of this one, right? And it would be cool if Alberta, they started it here and then Alberta said, yeah, we're for it, like officially, the province itself, and then they rolled again. We'll see. Let's be careful with that one. It's very, very early. Cool. All right, so right now it's just me. We may have one or two people jump in. Very busy, lots of snow for a lot of people. Happens, and totally cool with that because we have 59 starred messages in in our chat here. So I'm going to go ahead and go through those so we can kind of catch up on what we've been doing in the chat because I'm not putting them on the screen as much. I don't really want to distract when we're replaying, that kind of stuff, but we can do it during the commentary. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, Terry, you're a heavy chatter. Lots of stars in here with Terry's name on it, but also a whole bunch of other people. So we're going to enjoy this. It is my understanding that all money is now created out of thin air, computer, accounting, and that's the way the BRICS, countries are attempting to set up an asset-backed currencies. All right, for those who don't know who BRIC is, that's Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa's part of them as well. Okay, and there's I think a few other really close countries. Saudi Arabia next year, I think, are joining the BRIC. Think of them as 1984, right? We had two global powers fighting, not even fighting, just kind of existing. Well, BRIC is the parallel economy of the globe. It's the non-Western one. It's been around for a long time. MENA, MENA, is another one. Middle East, North Africa. That's another region that has a lot of power and a lot of economic, abilities, and they do a lot of stuff themselves. But yes, BRIC is a very large one. Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, Saudi Arabia, and others. There's others. Not to be scared of. It's just an economic system that has to be parallel because of the controls of the main economic system that they were forced to be under, which would be the West, where we are. But so what? So what? Visa, MasterCard, Coke, Pepsi. Why would we have a threat or feel a threat from a parallel economy? And do you blame them? I don't. Why would they be tied to and controlled by someone else? We wouldn't want to be forced into BRIC, right? So, it's not a scary big mean thing. It's just the world. And I don't blame them. Tied to US dollar is what most of the oil was until this. So, and if they're doing their own currency, I'm not surprised. If they're doing central currency, I'm not surprised. If they're doing digital, I'm not surprised. Terry, I'm not surprised. It would be, replicating each other, both economies. Oh, there you go. So Saudi Arabia 2030. That's right, Joe. Yeah. There's probably a whole bunch of other smaller ones that are hovering or have other connections and are starting to do it too. I would just consider it the second economy. And by the way, we're probably going to have micro parallel economies too. There's literally a thing called parallel economies. I'm not surprised to see that at all, because kind of forced into it when the banks can close your accounts and the government can put their fingers where they don't belong. Not surprised to see that happening. Hey, Terry, again, I think we're all going to get this. Witness is a blockades happened for the days it happened and was negotiated to end before the... Yeah, that's true. That's 100%. And that's the truth. And they also put in additional blockades after. So we heard on February 15th, 16th, that main artery still had blockades on it. City put them there. They weren't showing protesters blocking anything. Those weren't trucks that were blocking those intersections. That was 100% overreaction, overblown, unnecessary, all of those words and a bunch more, done by the city itself, done by that mayor. Oh, by the way, he's also the police board chair. I think we get into that in some stars coming up here. For lack of a better word, locked and loaded. Interesting choice of words, right? From a man who said there's no emergency plans, we now have to figure out how to do emergency plans in the future. Both sides of the coin there, Mayor. Locked and loaded. Hey, Jeremy, by the way, great to see you this morning. They were pretty brutal taking on Windsor protests of the footage. So taking on, yeah, for sure. And they were more hands-on, right? More hands-on than they were in Ottawa. Ottawa became more hands-on. But at the time, yeah, they certainly were. And some of it was legit. They had injunctions and stuff. Like they did things correct. And I believe they also had to, because OPP had to be part of some of it. At least the King's highways or the provincial highways, they had to be part of it. This guy's military for politician or police? Possibly, maybe authoritative. I was getting a lot of that too there, which you don't know is staggering. Heavy-handed guy, and very scared of the unknown, at least giving that message. I don't think he actually is, but he certainly is giving that message. Dixon holds the designation of Certified Human Resource Leader and has training certificates from the Canadian Foreign Services Institute. Cool, Railroad. How do you find this stuff? That's pretty neat. Gonna have to get more involved with you, Railroaded. We'll work on things together, provide source links, website. You know how Stephen Crowder does it, where everything they talk about is sourced and they put it down. I would like to certainly keep that going. That's a great idea. And the Canadian Securities Institute and Federal Bureau of Investigation of the United States. Busy guy? Is that what you're saying? Busy guy? Important in his world? At least in his world? Cool. People work hard for that. Oh, malcontent. Okay, yes, there was some talk here. Oh, darn. I think I missed yours, Terry. Oh, Terry, somehow yours got unstart. About the difference in words. So malcontent, as Railroad to put it here, dissatisfied with existing conditions, discontented. These words kind of almost refer to each other, but there is a distinction. Uneasy, right? And then malcontent. This one is new. Discontent, malcontent. Hold on, you had it actual. Here it is. Relentlessly unhappy. So discontented is malcontent, which is frustration against the government. Okay, dissatisfied with the government. But I think on a prolonged basis, maybe a chronic basis, you'd be discontented, which could mean you're always against all government all the time, as opposed to malcontent, which is specific, current, an issue. Okay. So one would be, I would say, quite legitimate, especially when you're specifically dealing with a specific thing, whereas flipping the word and using discontent, which could mean just frustrated always. So thanks to Terry, who's pointed out words matter, and they certainly do. And we see that a lot in these types of witnesses and these types of government questions. Good job on the Democracy Fund. Well, it wasn't actually the Democracy Fund. They're listed in the same group. Citizens for Freedoms, which is representing the peaceful protesters of Windsor, doing a wonderful, wonderful job. So, young lawyer, but he's on the right side. He's on the side of truth, working very hard, and he did a good job there. But the Government of Canada witness, and even some of the wording in the witness himself and in the commission councils, Terry picked it up. There we go. There is a new one, right? Discontent is malcontent in two different things. Yeah, right. Discontent is malcontent prolonged, probably for any reason, whereas malcontent is specific, and nothing wrong with it. You're allowed to be annoyed with your government. Recognize video from testimony last week. Okay, so and Armstrong, I am putting up. I spent a lot of time in between jobs. I would go run, start the video, it would encode, I'd run away, come back. I got all of the witnesses done. I've uploaded 3 of them. So Chris Barber, the first 3. So Chris Barber, oh boy, they're right here. So Chris Barber, Steve, Charland, and Bridget Belton are all up on my website or on YouTube right now. And then the rest will be coming. I had to stop the uploading because I don't want to mess up my stream. This is more important, but I'll continue as soon as I have the stream done tonight. So expect them all to come out, and then I may retroactively put up everybody. Maybe. Some of them had 2 days, right? One of them had 2 days. I have to say here, I was totally against blockages from the get-go. Okay. Still, it's not proving that EA was necessary. That's right. And of course, as we all know, all blockages were cleared by the time of the EA. That's right. So Windsor, we also had Coots was cleared. We also had threats of Sarnia that never happened. Blue Water never happened. And then Cornwall was cleared. That's all of them. But all of them were referenced during the declaration of the invocation of the EA. So they're all referencing cleared blockages. And then also, Terry, sometimes blockages get a message across. Inaction from government, sometimes it's hard to get their attention. We all know there's certain railroad ones that get blocked frequently in order to get attention. Civil issues, we have to get the attention of a government that ignores you, don't you? Peaceful, though, don't hurt anybody. Where do you think she is attempting to take this? Thoughts? You mean the commissioner? No, she's trying their best to go down the middle here, Terry. I don't think they're taking it anywhere. I don't get that jive out of commission council yet. I found they've had some hard-hitting questions and stuff and dug a little bit where I'm sure the witnesses weren't pleased with it. So it's so hard to say, humans are humans. Don't know if they bought a story or a narrative, but it's hard to say, Terry. I don't know if she's taken it anywhere, to be honest with you. All right. Let's click this button. All right. Deja vu. Clay, you've heard this before. This sounds very familiar. This is like a cross of Mayor Steve Kay and Diane Jeans. So Police Service Board Chair all roll into one person. They're basically replicating a lot of the Ottawa narrative. Resources this, future that, could have been this, might have been that. So much going on. Same thing. We're just basically getting a condensed version. I do expect some of this too in Coots as well. There's no OPP in Coots though, so RCMP. And I know the mayor in Coots wasn't pleased that was happening. So I'll be very curious to see how much of that narrative made its way there as well or not. But we'll find out because Coots is coming up later this week. Why would none of these politicians talk to the protesters? Well, who are the politicians, Terry? Some politicians did. Maybe not the right ones. Maybe not the ones in the cabinet. Maybe not the ones with minister in front. Yeah, Terry, big disconnect. But I do think we're going to see a recommendation where the government's going to establish a liaison unit of some sort. Phone number, hotline, website, mail, post office box, a mailing address, all of those, English, French, all of those, as a way to initiate conversation. It doesn't mean, at least from Canadian citizens, okay? If they're going to put a limit on it and say, we don't deal with terrorists or rogue states and this hotline's not for them, I get it. But it has to be at least Canadian citizens and residents, permanent residents, anybody who has some legal rights for being safe in Canada can also reach out to the government, replicate it to every single level. Some municipalities do this by their own nature. They listen quite well. Counties too. I'm not saying there aren't, good apples in here, but at least on the federal level, we know they don't. Why would you say what was cause was? Oh yeah, you were doing this back and forth thing, Terry, about the hill to die on and die and all that kind of stuff. I think this was just when I started before, and then we addressed it, I think, a little bit more later. Oh yeah, so he was complaining about at his house. Sounds like the existing laws worked for him, right? We talked about that on the break. Whatever threat, they all get them. I'm sure everybody gets them at some point. It's horrible. It sucks. It's not saying it's a good thing or anyone should do anything like that. Threats are really pointless, too aggressive and unnecessary. You can do other ways to handle this, because it also causes problems like this. Then they get to point their finger at something that didn't happen but could have happened because there's an email or a post or a phone call. See, this is why they're unnecessary, like fundamentally to strategic, any planning. And this is why Convoy said, don't do this kind of stuff. And that's why they didn't. This lone wolf people who does this just gives them a thing to point to. It also gives them the motive to make sure that they have these. Just saying. But at the end of the day, nobody harmed, thank goodness. Not a single person. Mayor, very happy to hear that nobody was harmed. And not surprised to hear that either. Canada is full of great people. Oh, right. And then here's where we found out, at least I found out, that the mayor is also the chair of the police board. I find that to be a conflict too, Terry. I think you mentioned that too. I find that to be a conflict of interest because the city is not supposed to have direction in the police services at all. And then he's actually saying that the board doesn't have direction on the police. That's baloney. That has quite a bit of direction by being able to fire and hire as they need to. Come on, get out of here. There's a huge distinction that should happen, and I think it's been overstepped. I don't think the mayor should be also part of a board that doesn't direct, like, too fuzzy minimum, mayor, at minimum, too fuzzy on that conflict of interest. We would at least have grounds to explore it more. That's too close. I'm not a fan of that. I think you should have actually had an independent person doing that. Emergency lanes were open again. Not a single soul hurt. Everybody was, only protesters got the brunt of some of the stuff, even in Windsor, but no citizens. It was all fear mongering. It was all fear of hospital beds won't be available for people who need it if the unvaxxed are allowed to be unvaxxed. Can't have your job because a bridge is closed. Even if you don't work in those companies, it's going to have a ripple effect to you because all those workers will be unemployed and take to the street and bring crime up. All of those narratives were said and used within hours of things starting. You don't tell me, Mayor, that you don't have plans. You had plans. You had plenty of them. Even some of them you won't tell us about. I didn't watch the live streams of Windsor, so I don't know if he's speaking truth or not. Okay, Barbara, there wasn't much. I know that I think Viva Fry's brother-in-law went down there for some of it and captured some of it. There isn't a ton, but it also works both ways there, Barbara. There isn't a ton from the government either showing this mass situation. So, but what we do have is we don't have a list of casualties. Both sides. We don't have a list of casualties. We do have some people who got roughed up on a protester side, but we're not even hearing things about people being harassed with masks and food courts and things like that, or fireworks. Like, we're not even hearing all of that fancy stuff that happened in Ottawa. No Paul Champ stuff yet. I'm sure Paul may have some questions though, because he still needs that national emergency. He still needs all that. I consider it a drill they ran alongside the event. The same thing they were doing for COVID, using the public to unknowingly participate. A whole bunch of different ways. And there's even terms for this. Technology companies do it a lot. Facebook got busted for it. Putting a negative spin into the feed to see the emotions and yada, yada, yada. And the WF has published a document about the success of COVID and the mandates and the cooperation from the people. And if you check out their publication, you would learn pretty quickly that there's a bit of a celebratory nature and tone to it. Like they were pleased with the results. Kind of the way you would be writing if you found a cure for cancer. You'd be very pleased with the results. You should be unbiased. You shouldn't be talking in such a way that is showing a leaning. But I'm sure you, if you read a document that was curing cancer, you would feel it. You would read it. It feels the same way. They're very pleased with the results. Don't know why they had a desire to know what the results would be like that and that kind of stuff, but they published. They're not shy about their involvement in all this stuff. The pleasedness of it certainly left a sour taste in my mouth. All right, my mouse is not working now. Okay, that wasn't a power issue. That wasn't a power issue. On my side, my mouse clicking stopped, and then my screen stopped. All right, let's go back. Okay, hello, Marco. Nice to see you pop in again. So yeah, we saw in the text messages, Marco pops up. A little confusion for me around Doug Ford saying call Marco, or Marco call, like Marco and Ford is wrapped up. And this is around the time we're finding out the Ford doesn't have to go. And I think this is even more reason why he should be there. He is wrapped up on this level. But Marco initiating conversations in any way, shape, or form is very abnormal for this. Reaching out to the mayor. So you got Marco and a company calling you all within like right away. That's not normal. We heard the OPP say that's not our normal procedures. They testified to that. And there is OPP coming later in this week. So it's going to be mayor and then Windsor Police Services and then OPP. So we may hear some more around that. But again, Marco's popped up. Interesting. Hopefully my stream stays too. That was interesting. That was not power. And that wasn't even Starlink. Or maybe it was. It was just a hiccup on Starlink. So we find out tomorrow before. No, we don't. We found out now. He's not going. Sorry, Jason. Didn't age well. Did it, buddy? Didn't age well at all. He's not going. So I think here's where I think the problem. Where's the problem with this witness is because it directs all of his answers. He does not understand, has no empathy for someone who does not want to care how the job. Yeah, the actual human protest, the actual grievances of the people is not making its way up the narrative much at all. At all. It's been super dismissed at a very low level of it's not even a valid argument. Like they just skipped that entire part of this so much. Yeah, Terry, good observation there. And yeah, why aren't they? And I believe when he was questioned after this, that was part of the question. Why didn't you talk to the protesters? You say you talked to all of them, marginalized and everything. You talked to them all, but you didn't talk to this one. Yeah, Terry, good eyes and good question. Stellantis, there we go. And then that came out. And this is when I was typing and it went black the first time. Again, completely unrelated, I'm sure. WF Connected Business, we looked into that and they had access pretty quick to the mayor. And they are the ones that we saw on the federal side of things too. We saw Freeland mentioning them as a reason why, as who in the private sector was the squeaky wheel and how much money we're talking about. And this is where they're pulling out all these numbers that they keep making up. You all hung out in Davos at one point there, Freeland and Stellantis and teams. So I wasn't there. Don't know what you said. I think we all hear the OPP were yeah, we heard that too before we even got to today. What you don't know is staggering. We heard that from the OPP itself. They said normally WPS, Windsor Police Services, would contact us We kind of have a hotline type of thing that goes on there. Lots of cooperation. But it was odd for us to find out through the mayor and Marco, through provincial public services, that were being asked or requested in any way, shape, or form for resources. So yeah, there was a circumvention that went on, and we heard about that before the convoy week. So it was even 2 weeks ago we heard about that. We already have heard that. There you go, Clay. Yeah, on top of it. Got your notes too. Yep, we totally did. And corroborated. Haven't heard yet. Ford just publicly announced this morning that he's going toe-to-toe with Trudeau, standing with Smith and now Moe, and protecting provincial rights. Absolutely. Federalism should be done. Super happy if Ford is really doing this. I don't care if he's grandstanding. I don't care if he's placating. I don't really care his motivations at this point. I'm just pleased that Ontario is doing anything more than passively standing by. So happy. Manitoba, wake up. East, understand something. All of you on the Rock and stuff like that, understand something. This too benefits you. You are being repressed with your resource rights as well. The ripple effects will be great for every province when we get back to business. Yeah, good news. Yeah, I'm pleased about that. I'm excited. I think it's pretty obvious. Terry, yeah, things are heating up. Ford threatening Trudeau and have sit down with all provinces and territories. Interesting times ahead. Do you think any of this inquiry helped with that, Terry? Hearing from the other provinces that they weren't consulted. Ford knows he wasn't consulted. Hearing some more of this testimony that comes out. Hearing some more from the convoy. Is all of this kind of happening because of this inquiry? Is Smith being emboldened by more of the truth coming out? Is she very excited because OPS didn't establish anything that comes close to foundation for the EA? We've come nowhere near it. Are they all being emboldened by that now? Is this their way of hanging Trudeau out to dry for them on a provincial level? And if so, Hong Kong, highly successful, might all be related. I don't think it failed. I think success comes in many different ways, Hong Kong. I think Ford finally realized after the discussion JT had with Mayor Watson, our favorite Ottawa mayor, that Justin was willing to, and now is, trying to throw Ford under the bus. I hope Ford gets his ducks in a row for POC. Well, he's not coming, but Marco, Blair, those two are on my throw under the bus scapegoat list for Trudeau, because they're super easy ones. Blame it all on them. You can find a few more. Ford, I don't think Ford is a convenient anything to Justin. I really don't, but could be. I don't know what. But now that Ford is not coming, and it's been announced that he's not coming, and he's not going to be in here, I assure you there's a lot of erasing going on, some whiteouting going on, and some additional narrative that's going to be coming out over the next few weeks is happening. Even the threat of him coming would have had them cautious about some of the stuff they were going to talk about. But now that he's not going to be there to even defend himself, you can really expect the hyperbolic messages to expand, and the rhetoric's going to get worse. And yeah, Terry, maybe this is how they will do it. They won't actually have any substance to it. They'll just keep throwing him under the bus, and he won't be there to defend himself. Unless it's 4D chest on Ford's part, because he can still at any point show up under that summons voluntarily. Right now, he can be saying to the public, I'm not going to be there. Let them go yab, 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 Ford. Yab, 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 Ford. And then he shows up all of a sudden, defends himself. Maybe he wants to let them speak a bit before he goes in there. I don't know, but I would like him to assist with freedom. So, we still got a few weeks to go here, Terry. I don't know what's going on. That's why it's perplexing to me. I disagree with the finding. I hope. Oh, yeah. So there's a fine line. Like, look here, Judge. Here's the problem that I think you didn't consider. They're calling it a national security issue, like the ultimate national security issue, which means privilege isn't really the right tool here. I believe national security interests should trump provincial privilege. That might be me, This might be also going into an appeals pretty quick. Appeals can happen pretty quick. But in either case, I thought it was pretty flimsy to use privilege. You didn't argue that it wasn't material. And I think that's everybody agrees that his testimony could be material or would be material or is. So privilege felt weak to me. So I disagreed with the judge's ruling there based on that. If something else came out, maybe. But based on that, I didn't agree with it. Sorry, Judge. I'm sure you're an awesome person, but I didn't agree with that. Ontario Premier Doug Ford has a right to use parliamentary privilege to block a summons from the Emergency Act acquired, despite him having valuable evidence to offer. The federal court has ruled, and I think, I don't agree. I don't think privilege should trump national security. I don't think that should be the case. I think, if anything, just like all the other witnesses that had civil or criminal going on, basically every convoy person prefaced their testimony with there's certain things I can't touch on. Same thing here, Doug. You could have said, well, that's PP, parliamentary privilege. I just won't answer that one. Okay, fine. But this is a text message you sent to the mayor? Yes, that's not PP. It's already in public. Your name's on it. You should have done that. I would have had a lot more respect for the whole thing. But again, it might be 4D chest. It might be dumb. I don't know what's going on there. Other people may know, but I don't. I remember Dougie had the pulse on things so much he went snowmobiling. I think he got in a little bit of trouble for that, right? Did it with the guy that went skiing from OPS. Look, people are allowed to relax. I don't imagine for a moment what it's like to be Doug Ford for a day. It'd be hard in so many ways that I'll never appreciate. So look, going away for snowmobiling, you wouldn't care if it was anybody else except for Doug. So for that reason, I say give him a break. Gone for 3 weeks with COVID while the entire trucker's there. Yeah, okay, you lose my empathy there. But taking off for a weekend and blowing up some steam, I can't imagine his life. It's tough. It's got to be tough. I'm getting a small, tiny little taste of it, and there's some people out there. Finally, like you, mid and Westerners, okay. The East has in Toronto. Ford just took off the gloves. Maybe, I hope so. I hope so. Because nothing better than some powerhouses like Ontario being there. Quebec's going to come flying in there pretty quickly if they see any weakness of the federal government of opening any of the doors that they've been trying to open. So, Ontario in there, BC, you got some weight and you got your issues and you got resources and you've got your own desire to be your own province. So join us. Ford is afraid of being publicly humiliated during the cross exam. I don't know, James, because I don't know what would be coming out. So maybe there's certainly some gotcha testimonies and gotcha moments and even bad for the government moments. So maybe, but I don't think that's the root of why he's doing it. I don't think he functions that way as much as some people may think people would in that situation. I'm sure he gets these reports all the time that, public opinion is, and this looks bad, but humiliated, I don't know. I would say maybe not, but could be. Yeah, you're right about a lot of things, James. So I'm not dismissing it. I think there's more to it than that. Anyway, I don't think so, James. I'm more leaning towards a Ford does not want to name it. Yeah. So my thing there is like he almost can't win by being in it. Either he's in it and he helps and everybody wins, but he wouldn't have been the pivotal testimony, so they would have won anyways. So what's his glory? Bandwagoning? Probably not. Doesn't need that. Or it goes the other way. It all comes crashing down. This is the end of freedom. This is the end of Canada. This commission just really established a lot of nails for the coffin of Canada, and he doesn't want to be part of that. So if you're looking at it just from a risk-reward standpoint, doing your analysis, which of course they all do, there isn't a lot for him personally as a politician to have an upside of, unless he wants to stand for freedom. And then he stands there as a non-politician who's certainly there for freedom. Then we all would be blown away, right? I don't know. Maybe it's 4D chess. Maybe he'll be a surprise witness. He's still under summons. It's not quashed. What happened with that ruling is he has the choice. He can invoke privilege. That's all the ruling said. It didn't quash the actual subpoena or summon. But it's not enforceable because of privilege. So he can decide to say, all right, I'm good to go. And there'll be a seat for him. Great Brady Bunch. John, we'll do something like that again. And yes, we'll do a second stream. So we're not limited by quite a few things. And also, we'll do it in such a way that maybe we'll mark it as educational and 18 plus. So that if anything does happen, that slip of this or slip of that, the channel has a little bit of safety and protection there. So what I'll likely do is set up another stream, set it to educational, and make it not for children. And then we'll chat. It doesn't mean I want to, of course, this is not a locker room or anything like that. But yeah, at least we don't have to be super, super careful. Thanks to the 10th man for that suggestion. Dude, thanks a lot. You're out there. It's all a public opinion. You're right, James. Yeah, 100%. And that's all I have really here is opinion. Some of this is commentary, opinion, and some facts. We do look up sources. And yeah, some political theater. I think that is minimum we'll get though, James. I do think we do get more than some entertainment here and some of that political theatering, because we're still going to be looking through this with a fine-tooth comb for a long time, and we're going to find things that we didn't even think were important at the time. Like, for example, it was really just missed that Daniel, his name's right here. Yeah, Bulford said, I recognize a photographer as Prime Minister Trudeau's personal photographer. I think that's super important because that's not a fluke. That's not an accident. That's an order. Go get that Yahtzee picture. He recognized him there. It went in his testimony, so we can go back and hear him say it again. It was also kind of talked over by the lawyer. But yeah, he said, I don't know if it's true, but nobody's impeached him on it. He said, Daniel Bulford said, the Prime Minister's personal photographer, he recognized him at the Yahtzee picture. To a lot of people, they'd be losing their mind to hear that. It came out. Smith is fighting back for you. Terry. She could be. And she also has an election to win because she's, she got to get another round here. She's just taken over for Jason Kenney. So she got another election to win, and she could easily win it if she keeps on doing this. NDP stands no chance of taking back power. Not with the current mindset and the push from the Federals. Now that we have a rally, as many Albertans wake up and join in the rally, I think your challenge, as do we in Ontario, is the urban, small town, rural differences. Yeah. City centers have a lot of power, a lot of people. It's built that way on purpose, and they grow. More people are moving to the cities than not. Yeah, but look, I think truth and freedom are two really important things still, and I think when push comes to shove and people start to really look into it, even the toughest liberal can get on board. There will always be a group that you can't, for sure, because there's usually motivation behind them to also gain and get from the same government, so they don't want to break it or oppose it in that way. But I think there's a lot more Canadians that are starting to wake up, and I think we saw one of them with Paul Champ himself. I think he's reluctantly waking up. Jason, yes, a new stream. Yeah, John, we'll do something like that. I haven't seen Hudson Valley Squares, nor am I trying to go with super formatty, but we'll see what organically happens. Great people like you keep showing up, and we have awesome conversations. We'll see where that goes. Thanks, John, and thanks for being there. It was a lot of fun. As I was typing it, yeah, so Stellantis had the $6 billion investment, and that had the whole connection to the mayor. So within 1 hour, the company is directing the government. Okay, Mayor, thanks for that testimony. See, guys, I think that's pretty important that Stellantis keeps coming up. Why are they calling the mayor so quickly? Why does their $6 billion throw them away, their weight around? Why do we let businesses with $6 billion and batteries throw their weight around? Why is that a standard? Why is that a thing? What if you only had $5.5 billion investment? Do you not get to have your phone call answered by the mayor? Are you trying to say small business is nothing there, Mayor? wow, I hope you're not. I hope you're not. There's a lot of small business that was doing quite well with the protesters around. Like, I know that the chip stand and that mom and pop place and that convenience store doesn't matter to you. But what is the buy-in then, Mayor? 1 billion, 6 billion? What is the buy-in to get your special phone number? I think that was a testimony about you and why we need more transparency than it was justification. This is why sometimes I don't think these witnesses think about what they say, because that's what I saw there. I saw somebody abusing power, letting a company with a lot of B's behind their dollar sign even have access, special access. Yep, I didn't like that at all. The Windsor mayor was purposely vague on a set. No, he lied, actually, John. I think he went more than vague, because they certainly have many plans, many different iterations of them. They're a lot like a pilot's handbook, where if situation is this, go check out this section. And then it breaks it down further. I've seen them. There are lots of money, lots of time, lots of lessons learned to create these emergency plans. And Windsor has a whole whack of them, for sure. Listen to how they talk about themselves. An international border with like global power ripple effect if they're closed down. They have a gold standard on emergency planning. I assure you. I think it was perjury, implying that he didn't have one. That was a flaw in the running script. They didn't get the full memo. Yes, the gathering of tax-paying, law-abiding patriot Canadians is scary. Yeah, and they also have to use tax-paying money and tax or employees and government employees to create the emergency plans. I've been part of them. COVID caused them all to kind of adjust their plans, because the worst case scenario kind of happened, which was something that was weird. Before COVID, we always had the worst case scenario planning. But now a complete lockdown of everybody wasn't something that was completely anticipated, but still planned for, because of an emergency, natural disaster and stuff, ice storms, those kind of things do that. People can't get out. So the fundamental, issues caused by people not being able to get out, lockdown, isn't an unknown variable that hasn't been studied and planned for. It most certainly has. I was part of one. Our COVID response was remote, and I helped build the systems in the SDNG, Stormont, Dundas, and Glengarry, United Counties over there, to ensure that government continued to function remote. It was just a bunch of technology we put in place. One big deal. But it certainly allowed the government to continue. So they have lots of planning. And those were plans that we did execute. We had to just add some technology, but the idea that we could add the technology when we needed to was well thought out, way ahead of time, before my time. Smart people work in your government around this stuff. So no, there's no way, Mayor. You had plenty. And if you didn't, plenty of cities could give you one. So don't be silly like that. American Records would have been really dumb to come to us. For sure, stunt. Yeah, no. But that's really the point is here on this one, stunt, is that it was another availability. It was something that was available. That's the problem for the government. They basically need to show that no tow trucks within Earth was available to them to even come close to maybe even trying to make a leap to EA. So stunt, yeah. And yeah, stunt. The truckers and tow trucks and tow truck, they were all the same blood. We all bleed the same way. So I don't blame. There would have been a whole whack of them that would have said no thanks. There would have been a bunch that would have taken a Benjamin. So, okay, if the government didn't ask and require it, they didn't, and they didn't. So we'll never know. But the point is, yet another tool available that the government says, I got no tools available, therefore EA this thing. No, stunt, is yet another option on the table for tow trucks. So those are tow trucks from the East Coast, tow trucks from the West, tow trucks from the North and the South, all the best. Like, there's tow trucks everywhere. So I think we can maybe put that narrative to bed, I hope. Dilkens is smugly confident he is walking away from his involvement in local government wrongdoing. I wonder who the local scapegoat will be. Marco's fingers everywhere, John. Marco's fingers. Marco's even pushing this mayor. That would be an easy scapegoat for the mayor too. Marco pushed me. Marco said there was more information. Marco and Blair, those two, I would put a little circle around them. They expendable. Blair did his whole career. I watched him go from Toronto all the way up to where he is now. So if this was his last hurrah, I don't think he would lose much sleep over it. This is who you look for. We heard this from Chris. They look for expendables, take the fall. So I don't know if there's a local one. I don't know enough about the local players yet, John, but Marco's name's already come up. Barbara, at this point, I am convinced the EA was used as a last-ditch attempt to provoke a violent response. Oops, didn't work. I feel that way wholeheartedly. I believe if it wasn't planned as something to just do, I believe it was the last attempt to provoke. The name calling, the ignoring, the continued ignoring as it went on, the provoking with the fuel, the threatening of the children, the threatening of the dogs, like taking away the dogs. All of this stuff transpired and didn't cause a violent response. I think the EA, the boots on the ground, the boots in the back, right, Maggie? The boots in the back, Maggie. Hey, Chris, the kicks in the ankles, the punches in the head, dude. All of that was to provoke a violent response. I don't even want to get into why did they want that, but that's what I believe at this point, Barbara, because this is the evidence to me, because there wasn't an actual justification. Now, it could have turned into a violent response, and then we can all be having a much different day here today. We could be talking about the casualties of war, because that's basically what it would have been like if they got the response they were looking for. Oh, Canada, you made me so proud. Not my government, but certainly my people. My goodness. And that's where I'm leaning, Barbara. To get me back anywhere towards the government justification is going to be tough. And they're going to, till the day they die, just like this mayor, they're going to stand on that assumption that the whole world was collapsing. I just think he wanted to prove to the U.S. that he wasn't a wuss. Who, Trudeau? And had the country under control. Here's something interesting about that comment, Barbara. If it's remotely true, that would be an admission by JT that he's a wuss. You don't go out of your way to show somebody that you're not a wuss if you don't also see it yourself in some way. Like, I don't know a lot of strong people who go around showing other people how strong they are because they already are. Maybe you're right. Maybe this was his subconscious of showing I do feel weak and maybe I need to overstrength this. Maybe that's not off the table, Barbara, but that would require him to acknowledge that he's weak. Right? Like a super strong leader, the one with control, doesn't need to yield all this power. A good leader will just go, raise an eyebrow, have a conversation, and get things right. So maybe you're right. Maybe he's insecure and he does feel it. I know he's not liked globally. I know he's not respected globally. Well, maybe, Barbara, you're on something. Legally speaking. Oh, so this came up. Yeah, so irreparable harm. They use that word. Government of Canada used those words together. There's a legal standard for that. And they might be using that word loosely to try and get the commissioner to make the leap, because irreparable harm means this, we can't even recover from it. That's where you start getting into war stuff, like irreparable harm, can't recover from. But it was cleared, and then you recovered like quite literally the same week. You recovered the routes, business was back to normal. You quite literally recovered the same week. Therefore, this is the wrong terminology to be used. Temporary harm, intermittent harm, irreparable, you can't recover from. That's silly. You recovered from it hours later. So I don't like it when they're misusing words. These are lawyers. They know what the words are. They're using them for a reason. This is the building block to get to ultimate national security. If the commissioner believes that at any point irreparable harm was reached, I hope he's smarter than that, because he also then heard them say, and then we recovered next week. Well, that deflated the entire narrative. Temporary harm, temporary interruption. Come on, you're lawyers. It makes me feel like you're doing that on purpose. Hey, Ellen, I'm going to stay quiet, though, so I call you out here. Here you are on the screen about that. I vowed not to get my hair cut until the mandates. Yes, I know it is 5 for 5 at least. For those that are not aware, Ellen and I have been keeping track. The Government of Canada lawyers seem to have a hair issue. whether it's our crazy hair from our main guy to the something that clearly needed to be worked on, to someone who looked like a major player from World War II. You know him. He looked right like him. To this one too. It seems like bad hair, maybe stress, so much going on, lots of work going on behind the scenes with all these people. I wouldn't be surprised if they're all struggling a little bit with the work they have to do. They're on the wrong side, and they must know a lot of it. I can see why, quite literally, pulling their hair out. It's just something that's been ongoing. So if we see another Government of Canada lawyer swap in here, because they do replace and have different ones, take a look at the hair, see if we have another one who seems to skip the hairdresser. There you go, hair again, 5 for 5, Helen. Yep, or Ellen, we've been keeping track. Now, the Alberta convoy is connected loosely through that article to Canada Unity. Canada Unity was the bear hug and James Bowder that we now learnt about. So this is not stuff we don't know about anymore. And their hallmark was they were targeting, aggressive, and legal. They were the ones that would walk into a shop without a mask on because their right is to. Bear Hug 3.0 is going to be bigger. Like he told us, Bear Hug 2 was an elevated response to Bear Hug 1 not working. And we just heard him on testimony giving Canada one heck of a justification for his moves. They're going to go 3.0, provincial support now. Wow. I get this funny feeling thinking about, is that going to happen? I would root a whole bunch of things on my end to try and be there. My biggest issue is winter, snow, solar panels, power, freezing wells. All of that happens at this moment in time in the season. Any other time, none of that's a concern. Everything works great, but I have to clear snow. Anyways, we're doing our best to find a way to be more involved and be in Ottawa the last week as well. Bear with me. We're going to do what we can there, guys. Here you go. Yeah, Mr. Green. Yeah, I just said all that. I'm doing my best. Won't be next week, but we're doing our best. There we go, working out the details. It's all fluid. Because if it ends up being something where I can just back up my truck and grab the fifth wheel, call Starlink, pay that 20 or whatever it is to get the RV package, and then I got Starlink on the go, count me in. I'm totally in. I do have to work out the logistics of the property. It'd be some significant repercussions if the well froze and other things, chickens. We got things that are alive around here. Yes, Brendan, nail them to his arrogance, believing that they could determine what is and is not national security threat. Go get them. Yeah, these declarations, these Michael Scott declarations. If you don't know what I mean, it's the from The Office, Michael Scott, when he was declaring bankruptcy. Just walked into the room and just said it. There seems to be a lot of this Michael Scott declaration power these people think they have. They don't. And this is why we have to get in there and get a little bit harsher with accountability on all levels. I think unelected officials, some of them are swampy. Some of them are ingrained. Some of them are great. Okay. We just need to figure out which ones are which. And a lot of them outed themselves during the last few years. The ones that were for trampling rights, taking away rights, ignoring laws, pushing for no new laws, especially the ones that outright said we didn't have any laws for this type of protest, so we're going to make some. Those people really should have a good review going by the public. There's a public inquiry on the COVID stuff. I did apply to maybe participate and help them on that. More of those. Civilian-based, public-based, independent, not connected to the government. It's going to be a tougher road because you don't actually have lots of powers, but through things like injunctions and motions and orders, freedom of information requests, coordinated strategy towards getting the information. There is a lot of things that even the public without subpoena power can do. Okay, so I'm all on board with that inquiry. I'm all on board with any public one that goes in any direction, from school boards all the way up to the PM himself. maybe even further. Check out what this global stuff is. I'm down for that. Public. Look, we crowdfunded 10 million to support the convoy. Can we crowdfund a public inquiry? Maybe. Nothing against that yet. No rules against that yet. I assure you, Freeland and others are definitely working on that, because anything that gives us the power to afford more transparency, more accountability would go way against what they're trying to do, don't you think? What would be the reason for changing up their representation so often? Oh, so you're asking why the lawyers are not the same ones all the time. Lots of work, lots of heavy lifting, lots of things to do. This lawyer's good at aggressive witnesses, while this one's good at sneaky witnesses. This one's good at helping lay down the foundation of our narrative, while this one's good at poking holes in the narrative. A variety of skills. This is the best thing about Canada. A variety of people who can do a variety of things is exactly why you're seeing a variety of lawyers. Canada Gov is really stocked up on the number of lawyers, but I've yet to see one of the Government of Canada lawyers really feel like they were behind this job they're doing. All of them, in my opinion, feel like lawyers who are lawyering because they're lawyers and they lawyer. That's where I'm at with them. They're not throwing out the "I'm so happy to be here." Rob Kittredge, when he's up there, he's excited. He's like, "Let's get the truth out. Let's get this going." He would do it pro bono if he's not already pro bono. He's the kind of passion that we don't see from the government side at all, because they're still humans, and Rob is a human, and he knows where he stands. He knows the law. He knows the Constitution more than me and even Jay in my chat earlier today. And you can see him just bubbling and can't wait. Don't see that from the Government of Canada. Why? Not a winnable case. Not a winnable case. So lawyers being lawyers to lawyer, the lawyering is what they have to do at this stage. And they'll be using lawyer words, and they'll be compounding issue on an issue to try and convince the commissioner that all of these houses of card little pieces is a real thing, and he should be worried about it. I'm more concerned what they're going to tell him behind closed doors. There is going to be a stage where there's a conversation like that. They may scare him. And yeah, sorry, Terry, that's what I was saying there. So let's go jump to the live. There's a bunch of live. Sorry we fall behind on those as well. But let me do some of this. Bear Hug 3.0. I read there was a rumble in Alberta with Truck Trudeau. Yeah, so railroad. So that article talked about Truck Trudeau was one of the names. Alberta Convoy was another name. Convoy 2.0 was in the headline. And then the connection to Canada Unity would make it Bear Hug 3.0. And the actual protests we're talking about is surrounding the Alberta legislation building. So a bear hug, this is their MO. This is what they do. They like to surround and drive around. So Bear Hug 3.0, Convoy 2.0, new name insert here. Could be anything. But I like the sound of something. Jason, is your well pump solar? Everything solar, Ellen. Everything solar. Everything. And we've got our well, protected with wire, the heating wire that keeps it hot as long as there's power. Can't go for more than I would say 24, 36 hours before I'd have to invoke the EA to deal with it. But yeah, wouldn't want that to freeze in the chickens and their feed and their heat. And no, there's a lot of things. Jason, Mr. Green, you're back. I thought you were taking a break. When was the last week of the inquiry? So no meat. Sorry, Mr. Green. Sorry, I announced it earlier in another stream because of logistics around the house. I can't be gone for that long. That's quite the burden on my wife. Rightfully so. Winter snow. She's she does a whole whack around here. But I can't leave her completely by herself yet for that long. So we're working on that. Trust me, we're working on that. She's learning that solar system so fast. All right, they're in my ear. Oh, hold on. I got to get the screen going. They're not on the screen, but they're not on stage yet. Here we go. Well, only my diehards are left. Only my diehards are left, but I love you all. And this one's pretty dry. These aren't very exciting witnesses. What we're hearing here is really just a recap of OPS, right? The first one, the mayor, was a recap of the city, Steve K, and the Police Services Board, because he did all those roles. Now we're getting a recap of OPS, but WPS. Okay, no big surprises here. We're still on a national emergency bandwagon. We're still trying to get there. It looks like still trying to get there. There we go. All right, Goose, what do you got here? Convoy was small and did not represent a significant portion of the Canadian citizenship, but was also unprecedented. Which one is, guys? That's right. Yeah, this is a narrative we hear a whole whack of times. Goose, remember the mayor of Ottawa? They had $10 million and they were super funded. Again, they never did get the money, but they kept talking about it. $10 million, super funded. All our hotels were booked for a month. We thought they were staying for a week and then leaving. This is what happens when you're not honest. You play both sides. You forget which ones you got. Sometimes what you're trying to say on this side contradicts with something else you already said. This is what happens when you play in that territory. So, Goose, good call. Good call, good catch. It's a small little thing, unprecedented. We didn't really care what they had to say. We needed the EA. Come on, they can't even pick a lane. You see it. I see it. It's frustrating. Oh, yeah, no Paul Champ. So nothing for our Windsor? I thought, Paul, your narrative is national everything, and Ottawa was a centerpiece of that, and everything was collapsing. I think it wouldn't be tough to make a stretch to get to Windsor. You've been talking about how Windsor was a stretch on the resources for Ottawa and OPP and all that kind of stuff. Paul, I'm not a huge fan of your position, but I could come up with a dozen questions that would have worked. Maybe you just are licking some wounds at this point. I don't know, but I'm surprised not to see you. Thought you could have stretched that one, no problem. Eleanor, Ninja, 100%. Yeah, you win for chat. So Ninja had that chat, and I agree, Eleanor, for sure. Unprecedented, small minority group. Come on, pick a lane, stick in it. Remember that bridge is private, right? So here's some things that maybe some of you didn't know. Some of you did know. Yeah, total private. We sell. Here's the thing, though, folks, about anything that's private infrastructure-wise. It has to go through a phase of whether or not it itself, under private ownership, could cause problems to the country. One example is the 407 could not go private if it was considered a major artery. But there's a 401. It had all these alternatives, so it was deemed non-essential in that manner. Well, isn't this bridge deemed essential? But they're saying here the whole national system is essential on it. Well, we don't let that be private. For the very reason, like maybe in a divorce, his wife and blah, 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 and other lawyers and blah, and then injunctions and stop and this and that. Simply put, we don't allow private infrastructure if it would be detrimental. So we now have to take over this bridge because too big to fail, right? Like it's a private thing. So we're gonna have to take this over now. Oh, I don't like when government does that. I also don't like when government falsifies as a narrative. There's nothing wrong with this bridge being private. There's other routes. That's why it passed the whole risk assessment to begin with. It couldn't be private if it was a national security problem. So again, just like Goose said, pick a lane. Is this thing vital or not? If it's vital, it can't be private. If it's private, it can't be vital. You can't have private vital. No such thing. At least there shouldn't be. Is that what you're saying? There's no such thing. I know the risk assessment goes through that to make sure that it can't be vital. I never even knew bridges could be public. Changed my whole perspective on want to buy a bridge. Yeah, it certainly can. Yep, it certainly can. Many things could be private, including highway systems. 407's private. I think last I looked, it was Mexican or something. That doesn't matter, but it was private. Sure. But not if it's national security infrastructure vitally important, essentially EA-able, then no, that can't be private. Owned by, there you go. Yeah, Eleanor was quick on it. What I did was I also started searching for it as well, and I kept coming back to his name. I was kind of looking for a company, but it kept putting it back to his name as a billionaire. So yeah, that's him. Yeah, he owns the bridge. And yeah, the mayor was insistent on in camera when it wasn't the normal procedure to talk to the police and stuff, and he was more worried about other people. I'll tell you this, as lawyer and paralegal and all that kind of stuff, it's super rare for you to even care about the other people. So if you really want privacy, it's really about for you. A lot of people will do that. They'll say, no, I want it behind closed doors for you. No, you want it for you. That's why you're extending it to me. Did the police even have the option to say no thanks to in camera, or was it just they walked in and there's an in camera meeting? And to those you don't know yet, and most of you do, in camera means private, not recorded, private. So we wanted this private on behalf of the police. Well, thanks, Mayor. You're in an elected position, and you know better than the police on what they can and can't say. No, I think you want it private for private's sake. Now I understand why. Man, this guy gets along with absolutely everybody except truckers and small businesses. We saw the small business tip of a hat earlier where he was really just big business was calling him. So yeah, we knew he wasn't small business friendly. Plus, he also put things in place that caused lots of small business problems along the road that he blocked. So no, he's not small business friendly at all. In fact, he created that corridor through small business to get to big business. He's blatant about it. He's not even trying to hide that. He's only happy with the truckers that work with them. So they're opening up the corridor for the truckers of the supplies and stuff. Happy with those ones, but not anyone that's disgruntled or complaining about something. And I'll say anywhere from to substantial amounts of people who couldn't wear a mask in the back. Yeah, Terry, this narrative is bothering me. Also bothering me is how weak they're trying to say the economy is in Windsor, and how insecure the jobs really are. They're talking about Automotive Parts Association having lots of weight, but the automotive unions are also huge. I can't imagine it's that fragile under their watch. Like them or hate them, but unions do have a way of looking in, and like them or hate them, they do expose stuff from time to time in management. And like them or hate them, I assure you that their membership is not based on a couple days worth of just-in-time interruption security. I'm sure they know a lot more about what and isn't actual possible for that. That seems to me that he's destroying the narrative. It's absolutely had anything to do with the Windsor Bridge. Well, yeah, and it wasn't. It was a different group altogether, and they had their grievances and wasn't. And when we say convoy, like it's such a abstract term now. Like, what does convoy mean? Does it mean Bridget, Pat, BJ, Tom, Tamara? Who's convoy now at this point? Because all of those were separate ones, right? And by the way, another thing that came up after I was reviewing my videos this weekend, Jeremy also scuttled the city deal. So we're up to 4 people that scuttled the city deal: Jeremy, BJ, Bridget, and Pat. For some reason, all 4 of them scuttled the one deal that was in play and working. Just saying. We've got all of that came out. Now, Jeremy's reason was grapevine. He's connected to truckers and stuff like that. Grapevine. Same group that would have been Pat and Bridget and stuff. So there's a lot of confusion. I don't think he picked a side or anything like that. He just had a lot of grapevine going on, so he reported it. I get it. But we now see, coordinated or not, 4 people, key. Well, Jeremy's not key. Jeremy is so fringe on the edge of this thing. He paid for parking. That's how disconnected he is to the whole thing. He even paid for his own parking. But he is a 4th person that did attempt to let a lot of people know that tomorrow's notice may not be legitimate, which also shows he wasn't really connected to the core group, because I think he would have known that maybe it was legitimate. So he's just reporting on grapevine. It happens, and usually it's right. Hearing that too. Yeah, Joe. Yeah. All right, so we're going to jump back to the live. I think they're almost done. Light fire me. What are you saying here? You got some green. I think watching inquiry end to end is so important. If it feels it lets me cross-check statements to get to the bottom of this, 100% light fire me. And can you imagine having just the summary only, and then from the summary you're cherry picking, and then from the cherry picking you're twisting, and then you're twisting to do some other narrative? Well, if you can imagine doing all of that, you can work at the CBC, because that's exactly what they're doing with this. So God bless you for sticking to all these hours, going through it all. Believe me, I understand having it in your ear. It's a lot, but you guys are amazing. So good job. Railroaded you too. I don't think you missed a minute. The only minutes you missed are the ones I lost with internet or power. But thank you all for sticking around. I see we're going back up again. All of it's important, just like Light Fire Me said, because then you can pick up things that you won't get if you listen to one or two or one side or anything like that. Well, I have a bridge I'd like to sell you. All right. Did you know that the London Bridge was sold? They thought it was the other one, the Tower Bridge. The person that bought the London Bridge thought they bought the Tower Bridge. And then when it arrived in the US, they realized it wasn't. But anyways, they sold the London Bridge piece by piece, shipped it across the ocean, and there you go. Sign for it. Here's your delivery. Cool, Railroaded. Stunned. I'm so happy that you're here too, bud. Big shout to Loblaws for not towing my big lime green van that was illegally parked in their lot for 3 weeks. Well, stunned. It's not illegal if they don't say so. If it's private property. Now, potential to be illegal, maybe. But if they didn't want it moved, you're welcome. And cool. And just throw some limes on there and maybe put their current lime price per pound or per kilo next time. And maybe we'll just call it advertising. All right. Oh, light fire. Unexpectedly based. Cool. And railroaded. Never missed a minute at all. I am known for many tabs. Cool. Thank you. And thank you. And railroaded after this break. Let's do connect, because if you can keep the stream going on your end, I tested this stuff in the last break. I was able to get into the studio and do things without interrupting it. So I can't actually, maybe not now. It's too pressured. Maybe after today's stream, you and I can stick around. Please let me know. It'll be quick. It'll be about 10 minutes and you'll be in and you'll have the power. All right. So some more crosses coming up. We didn't see anything from the convoy. We didn't see anything from... No, we did see the city. It's Windsor, but not Ottawa. So who else are we going to get some crossing? What's up, Stunt? They were unexpectedly based. I was surprised. I have cameras and cart people everywhere in their lot. Nobody ever said a word to me. They weren't bothering you? Sure. Why would they? You don't need attention unless you're harming somebody, causing a problem. For a long time, Walmart will even let you camp in their parking lots for a while. It's all cool. It's all about business and staying connected to the people. So are you finding this guy much like OPS? Talking about resources, not knowing what to do? I don't buy it. They're bothering any freedom people. They weren't bothering any freedom people. Because why? These are people. Freedom. People. You're not criminals. Listen, Stunt, and I think you're learning this quickly. There's a lot more support than the government ever said there was, and there's a lot less people that are complying than the government says it is, because I think the proof is in the pudding. All of us are here today doing this. We care. That is an empty room, though. Oh, that's an empty room. I'd like to see more Canadians there. But hey, at least we're recording it. We're talking about it. We're getting the clips out. We're paying attention. Goose is taking notes. Ellen's got notes. At least we're paying attention, Stunt. So I think we're in good shape. And Convoy 2.0, Stunt, did you look into that anymore? What about the artwork? What do you got in mind? Hey, Eleanor. And you have to love Stunt to tell me. Of course. Well, you don't have to. It's just natural. It's like anything else that's honest and got a good head on shoulders. Of course. You don't miss people like that. And Eleanor, you know this. There's a lot more stunts than there are chumps, right? There's a lot more stunts than there are chumps. In and out, but here, and Ellen's always around. Probably got an ear on, checking it out. And Ellen, when you're out and you need to know, we'll let you know. Chat's really good for that. I've been looking in, and there's not much. Yeah, I know. That's what I'm wondering too. That's why I'm wondering if it was stunt. And we're talking about the information on the Convoy 2.0. I'm not seeing a ton, so that's why I want to proceed with caution. Always proceed with caution when you have very little to work with. But I'm sure this information, if true and if it's happening, will shake. I will tell you, stunt, it felt a little bit of like old and new coming together. So maybe that's where the confusion is about this. But here's
Order
our
allowed.
commissioner. All right, enjoy, and we'll chat soon. Thanks all. That is an empty room. That is an empty room. Nobody cares about Windsor. What happened there? Because Windsor was a mini Ottawa. We heard Ottawa for a week. You even hear residents from Windsor. I do believe there's a business person, though, coming up for Windsor. Let me go look at that list again. Yeah, Paul Lechide. So it looks like tomorrow. It looks like a business owner. Dana Earley, Superintendent Earley from the Ontario Provincial Police is tomorrow. And then Paul Lichenside, something like that. Well, today was, we didn't really learn much new, kind of corroborated a bunch of things. The mayor of Windsor admitted to circumventing the OPP, working with Marco, working with a business within the first hour. Some of the things we kind of heard already and just corroborated it. Threat to his house, himself, all serious. We do take that stuff seriously. People shouldn't be doing that. But that's not something to harp on and do the actions that they did. We're going to do this one quick, folks. It's 9:02 on the recording. If I can do this under 10 hours, saves me a ton of time of downloading and doing other things. But the most important thing is to get the information out. So if it's 10:01 or 10:02, that's fine. But I do have some stars, and we can go through them quickly if you want to stick around for that. Let me just see what you said here. Yeah, there's a couple of new lives. So I would have to agree with you, Dave, today. I would have to agree with you today. Today definitely felt like a lot more lying. There was definitely some lying, not having plans. Was there violence on the bridge? Yes. Okay, let's move on. Like, what violence are you talking about? This whole thing's about violence. Why don't we have a charge, a broken nose, a picture, a report? The report we do have, Brendan pulled up and says, Canadian flags, only Canadian flags. The dude actually said children holding hands across the intersection was a situation. I actually put a quote on here for that. Children holding hands was a situation of something. Like, wow, how could you say that? Like, they were not going to stop a tank. Were you going to throw a tank at them? Were you guys going to throw bullets at them? What are you talking about, human shields and children? What were you planning? The children were there, sure, waving flags. This is an event. My goodness. And boy, they stumbled on that grass stuff at the end. You arrested somebody on the grass. All right, folks, let's go through the stars. Be able to get out here a little bit early and get some things done. All right. Don't they have body cams? You would think. He complained about the cameras not working in the intersection. One was old, one was crap, like all these excuses. Complaining about drones in the air, but yet the best pictures we have were from drones. These people. All right. Okay. So to the comments, starred. Here we go. The first one's from Jason. Jason, you're on fire today. Here we go with the unified command. There we go. Yeah, we heard that a lot with this witness. A lot. Unified command. Working with other police departments and stuff like that. It seemed like at first he was saying we only had London, but then he was bragging later about even Halton and Hamilton and other police forces being there. It's kind of weird, right? Earlier, they brought up this whole, you have this agreement with other police forces under the Police Services Act, right? Yes, but only London. Then later, when it was the Windsor Police Service lawyer asking questions, he brought up the badges. And he said, oh, look, all these ones that were there, right? Yeah. Anybody else? Oh, yeah, Hamilton and blah. And all of a sudden, the whole whack of police forces were available and around. Convenient. But National Unified Command, there was a lot of talk early on that one. Again. Hey, Stunt. Yep. I think this one's put a fork in. It sniffed this way when I first looked at it too this morning. A couple things, Stunt. I think that was a quick giveaway. Was we're going to hear more about it. I could only find it on one site. Very, very thin on information. And that one picture that I showed you, that little poster, it was cut off on the bottom where it had the date and stuff. I'm not saying it was like a op or anything weird like that, but I really love how this group sniffs and sniffs and sniffs and keeps going and doesn't just call it a spade when it's a heart and then says, I want a spade, so it's a spade. Do we want a second convoy? Yes. Do we want it to start from Alberta? Yes. Do we want it to have Danielle support? Heck yes. Are we going to go around telling people it's happening when we don't know the details? No, not this group. Thank you, Stunt. Thank you very much for all your extra work. Is Trudeau planning a second bungee jump anytime soon? I started this one, Norman, because I love the sense of humor behind this. And even love how it was annoying to a lot of people that even did that. Yeah, I think it was funny, Norman. See, I'm not alone. Stunt loved it too. Amazing how well our groups did just there. This is what journalism looks like. There we go. Yeah, so I'm talking about how we are not falling into the narrative path. We're not an echo chamber. We're not here to just toot each other's horn, right? Honk, honk. But we're here to get to the truth. We want truth, good or bad. And if that means we misunderstand something and we have to correct it, that's exactly what we do. And if that means we take cautious steps, that's exactly what we do. We don't need to sensationalize anything. We're here for the truth, not hyperbolic rhetoric or anything like that. We're here for the truth. So again, amazing group. You guys are awesome. Let's keep that going. It really helps. And I also think this guy should not be an interim chief, night shift or not. I thought it was very weak. He was complaining about snow and there was officers. Then he also said, I think he was implying OPP. There was officers moving from Ottawa and Toronto and Windsor, and it was hard to keep track because there's so much going on. And then at the end of that particular sentence, he goes, but I may be corrected. I'm not quite sure. Well, you were pre-corrected on that one. The OPP was very clear. They were not shuffling around resources at all. Yes, maybe they have to pull from areas and move them, but they were clear that they were not moving people from Windsor to Ottawa and vice versa. There was none of that going on because it was unnecessary. Ontario is a very large place. So quite a few times this particular witness threw in just statements of my facts is what I call them. It's when people throw out their facts and there's nothing else there. So statement of my facts, violence on a bridge. Oh, okay. This whole thing's about whether or not there's violence, and there's not a shred of evidence other than in passing at the very end, he says, yes, there's violence on the bridge. Yeah, sure there was. I know I want more proof than that. I certainly do. Yeah, I was on fire. I had a few of these. We had an abandoned house fire. So he was being asked to recite some of the things that was going on. And it was about trying to get emergency services around and 911 and all this concern around that. And he said he had an abandoned house fire. People, it's abandoned. Nobody's in it. So this is not a safety concern. This is just maybe environmental smoke. Maybe it spreads to the tree and the fence. But again, he also didn't say that they couldn't get to it. It's just that's the one event that he could recall. And why? Well, he's night shift. There's nothing going on at night shift, even when there's a protest in the day. There's nothing going on. So the best he can come up with is an abandoned house fire. Sure. Detroit, Windsor. Sure. There's a lot of abandoned houses there. Not EA. And then he actually made the statements. The peak of civil unrest was like that Saturday or something like that. He goes, the peak. We're at the peak. And then he explained what peaks meant because he goes, after that, it went down. Well, thank you. A peak. Okay. You thought it was going to be bad, but it turned into a nothing burger. All right. And then after they cleared the bridge, he made the statement, there was no property damage, like not even paint on the road, and cleared pretty quick. So there we go with the double narrative. Super horrible, thousands of people. Peak of civil unrest, and then the second half of the sentence, no property damage, cleared pretty quick. They're not working with Navigator, this particular group. because they don't have a consistent message even. Tough. Yeah, we all saw that little line in that report, huh? 912, 1900 or 912, 912. That would be AM. It's on the 13th. It's a good 24 hours before the EA. Freed of all blockades. All of them. But yet Trudeau said still blocked, right? That's why he invoked it on the 14th. Yes, Charlie, welcome. Goose, independent journalist. Yep, caught that. No issue, nice and clean operation. Yeah, again, cleared the bridge super quickly. No damage. Nobody even changed themselves. Blah, blah, blah. I hope our real enemies aren't paying attention to this. It wouldn't take them long to take over if this is all true. That's what it was used for. We didn't use it. Oh, yeah, he has a quote of the day, too, right? We didn't use the EA at all, he said. We didn't use the EA at all. All right. Okay, let's go home. Can we tell the commissioner we go home? Not national if Windsor's saying they didn't even need it. Coots is going to say the same thing. So where's your national issue? It's gone. Good question here. He's making good points. Did you use it? There we go. So this is when Freedom, Citizens for Freedom. I really want to get their names right. They deserve all the attention they can get. Yeah, Citizens for Freedom. Points for Jay. He was talking to him about resources, neighboring resources. Turns out they didn't need any more. They didn't even use the EA, so they didn't even need any more. But once again, we're establishing in Canada cooperation with police forces. We don't need another centralized anything. Could have called, picked up the phone. Sometimes they call you and see if you need help. Totally cool. Don't need the EA. Right? The whole day's testimony could just be that question. One for the mayor and one for this guy. Did you need the EA? The answer is no. Let's just go home. It's a lot of talk. We're not getting anything new material. And I can tell the commissioner himself was feeling the same way we were. All right, we got 3 more weeks of this. That's what was going through his head, because this is what we're going to be getting. A bunch of people covering butt, a bunch of people covering the other person's butt. I thought that the OPP and him needed to get a room the way they were covering each other's butt so much. Like, you couldn't have done anything better, right? It was a massive event. Neither could you. You couldn't have done anything better. You were a great resource. Come on, we're not here for that, people. We're here to find out whether or not there was any other option. Here goes the control. Yeah, you caught that, Dave. Yeah, one control unit. Yep. I think this is the power grab that's going to come out of this one. Lots of people are smelling that and feeling that one, Dave. There you go. See, Clay's on it too. Totally. And Clay's been catching this a lot. He's been watching these a lot. That's definitely the theme here, underpinning. Totally. It's come up too many times. Witnesses, question askers, Government of Canada, Paul Champ, OPP, OPS, everybody except for the Convoy and the Civil Liberties Union or any of the civil liberties groups are saying that. Everybody else is saying that. And the commissioners asked a couple questions around whether or not that might have helped the confusion, because there was a confusion between OPS reporting and federal reporting, and OPS was better than federal, but nobody knew it, or at least they're claiming that. Either case, even the commissioner was asking about that. Why is the OPP the only one doing that? Shouldn't that be a national thing, was his questioning. So quite a few of them are leaning that way, for sure. The world is watching, and this is, yeah. Remember Portland? It was Portland, right? Was it Portland? It was one of the West. Portland, Oregon, where they had Chaz. Hold on. Something's telling me it was near Portland. Where was Chaz? Let's find it in 1 second here. Occupied Hill Zone. Washington, Seattle. That's why we looked it up. All right. Okay, it didn't feel right because I almost moved to Portland. I wouldn't have gone to Chaz. Seattle. So they had Seattle Chaz. That was like a month long. It was brutal. There was actual people that passed. There's actually people that were hurt. There was actual reports that the police couldn't get in. There's actual reports of the stuff they're claiming happened in Ottawa, happened in Portland. They even had a report they were trying to cement the backdoor police station before they lit them on fire. Like, my goodness, the level of actual violence was high in Chaz. Here in Windsor, they're talking about having an underground garage at the police station, and they were concerned that the path leading out of it could have been blocked by a vehicle. Yeah, you heard me right. This is their level of scared. And this came out of the government of Canada as he was leading this witness into painting this narrative. This is the level they were at, folks. I know you heard it. Quite a few comments about it. Their underground garage, they were concerned it might get blocked. But in Seattle, they're cementing doors shut as they torch the police station. Quite the narrative. Snow, cold, long hours. These are the things he listed off in a row. Snow, cold, long hours. For the protesters too. No, let's not forget them. But that's what I call a Monday. It's snow here. It's cold here. It's long hours, and it's Monday. Come on, we're professionals. We can handle work. Let's do it. And then pathetic, really. At this one point, he was asked, were the other police forces around the province getting thin because of all the things that were happening all over the province? And his response was, in my opinion, and then he gave his opinion of, yeah, it sounds about likely. But then the government moved on like that was a stated fact. We now have a fact. We now have a state of fact, undisputed, completely stated fact that the other police forces were thin because this officer on the night shift had the opinion. I don't like stuff like that, and I really hope the commissioner is way beyond stuff like that. His experience would indicate he would be way beyond stuff like that. So let's see. Human shields, that won't bug me. I have kids. Not a single Canadian that had anything to do with the protest at one moment in their entire lives for a second thought that their child could be used as a shield, and they were fine with that. Baloney, that's just trash beyond trash. What is true and what is in that open source message was, yeah, the police would think twice about storming into a crowd that included children. Sure, that's true. That's not untrue. And why are they storming into a crowd would be the bigger question. The children can't be committing crimes, especially if they're under 12. There's very few crimes that a child under 12 can legally commit. So that's not it. So they're not illegals. So what is it? Yeah, you just wanted force, and you don't want to use force on children. You don't mind women and people sitting on the ground, but yeah, children holding hands in the intersection. I hope I started that one because that quote that he gave on that one was silly. All right. And you watched YouTube as a police officer that worries you. Yeah, he said, I saw it myself on YouTube, these threats. Maybe if he said he watched it on Rumble or somewhere else that wasn't super kid lovey with the community guidelines and the level of hate and stuff that gets taken down and the sensitive subjects that are censored. Like if YouTube wasn't known for being the marshmallow community and platform for sensitivity, then maybe I would give you a little bit of credit that maybe a video on YouTube scared you. But there's nothing on YouTube that should scare a single human being. They're very good at clearing all that out, right? So as soon as he says YouTube, watching a video, I'm like, okay, well, we know that there's no music in it. We know there's no talks about vaccines in it. We know there's no inquiry video that has somebody talking about doxing because all that stuff is removed. So maybe if you said I saw it on the dark web or I was on Rumble or I was on Telegram or something else, maybe. But if you found it on YouTube, I assure you there was no hate or violence in it. It wouldn't be there. And then if you found it, push that report button. It would be gone. So nice try, bud. But your marshmallow cushy platform isn't the one to be looking at if you want to try and convince anybody you saw hate. You're not finding that on YouTube. So this guy. So Canada was basically a war zone, and these extremists were using children as shields, so you couldn't shoot them. Goose, you get it. You get it. It's really silly, that particular one, but they used that in Ottawa too. The children in the trucks were an issue, and Child Protective Services kind of threatened for a moment there. I don't believe we had any reports of children actually being taken away. I do know that we had one RV where CPS were there because they knew there were children inside of the RV, but I don't know what happened to the children other than CPS was there. If they were taken away and placed somewhere else, maybe for a couple of days, totally possible as their parents were arrested. But local family would have taken them as a first choice, and we would have heard more evidence during this inquiry that children had to be relocated in foster care or otherwise as a result of this, and we didn't get any of those. I do know that particular family did have Child Protective Services there. You could see them; it was in the video, but I don't know what happened after that. And is this a realist argument? Goose, yeah, at this point, you were getting really annoyed at the way the government of Canada was talking, by the arguments they were making and the scare tactics they were using. It was pathetic. Just pathetic. Oh, my. He even brought up the Civil War, something along the lines of, you made a leap from just protesting to Civil War. But, dude, Civil War requires the country to split and then fight itself, to fight each other. This is not where Canada's at. We're far closer to a revolt than a civil war. We're far closer to pushing back at power than we are each other. So even throwing out those kind of words was, an intentional misrepresentation of the actual environment of Canada. We're not close to a civil war. I don't think so. I think we're definitely upset with the government on various levels, but that's a revolt, not a civil war. And just to be clear, it's only a coup when the army does it, not when the people do it. It's when the people convince the army to do it that it becomes a coup. Well, I knew the feds had nothing. This inquiry only continues to reinforce that view. Yeah, this is one of those days. It's kind of like, this was just a compressed version of Ottawa city, the entire city of Ottawa in the first witness, and then the entire police force of Ottawa in the second witness. The next witness is OPP, which is likely going to deflate a lot of that narrative because he was warned that the OPP was going to come and have a different take on some of it. But they handled protests. We saw one of the reports, only Canadian flags, not even F. Trudeau flags. So, I think we're going to hear a lot tomorrow morning about how the situation could have been handled differently, faster, less violence, no EA. Actually, we're going to hear about how it was tackled. Very little violence, even on the police, and done before the EA. We should hear nothing more than that tomorrow from the OPP. And then this business owner, they didn't call Stellalis. They called, he's a cabinet maker. I'm not diminishing his role, cabinet maker or not. Paul. It looks like his company is called Lakeshore Custom Cabinetry. Look, they might have been the nation's largest cabinet maker completely. But Paul, I think it's going to be very difficult for you to convince anybody in Canada that your business required the EA. Not trying to diminish you at all, but your LinkedIn shows like you're not large, so I'm not sure how that will have some sort of impact. Or maybe you're on the other side. Maybe you're on the side that says, look, wood is important to me. I get maple from this certain area of the United States to do my cabinets, and I could have handled it. I don't know. I doubt you're there to destroy the narrative. If anything, you might be called upon to show how business owners were affected. But I am keen to see what you have to say tomorrow, Paul. So we'll meet you tomorrow, it looks like, right after the OPP. All right. Dave, twisting the narrative. Isn't it weird to watch that happen real time, Dave? Isn't it weird to watch that? This guy did 4 years of school, articling for a year. He was an apprentice for a while. He was an associate for a while, worked his way up, got a job, got selected. To do that, to embarrass the profession and the Canadians he's representing through the government he represents, it's embarrassing. I really, guys, look, I know what happened, so I get it. But there's a big piece of me that really wants to find that my government didn't screw us as bad. Like, I really wanted to come out of this thinking, oh, I get it now. Okay. But, geez, maybe I'm just a fool, a little too naive on that one. But I'm hoping, and it's just not there, Dave. You see what I see. This is this is not this is not a problem that had to have this kind of response to it. Freedom stunt, you got it, bud. We're still free. We're still free. We're just dealing with a weird government right now. And that's who's trying to take more and more of that away from us. What is she doing? Yeah, so this is where the OPP questions were coming out. She was, at first, it was weird. I didn't know if she was massaging him, kind of good cop, bad cop type of behavior. Was she getting him comfortable to then just hit him with some, yeah, but here's a report where you signed off and said you don't need help type of thing. But then after this, it turned into a lot of, you did a good job, we did a good job, you did a good job stuff. I don't think the OPP really hit him as hard as we've seen before. And I guess it's better than hearing the other OPP guy just say I has no questions. But still, maybe OPP is holding off a little bit. Maybe tomorrow is going to be all the legwork for the OPP, because we're going to find out from the OPP Windsor what was going on down there. They are not pleased. They are just paid for security guards for big business. Doesn't it feel that way, Dave? Doesn't it feel that way? Hearing that businesses can call them up within the hour and get them to move. Doesn't it feel that way? He's even dropping how much the business is investing, $6 billion. Like, are they bragging? What are they doing? It certainly feels like they're just security guards for big business. And without jumping into the WEF too deep here, because my screens, I don't want to go black again. That's their mission, to blur the lines between public and private. So business. And Dave, one thing that I was feeling that I didn't like, especially with the Ambassador Bridge talk, was it was sounding like businesses wanted a way to invoke enforcement by the local government for issues they find to be their issues. We're not crossing that barrier. We're not blurring that line where business has a direct phone number to enforcement. This will make them their security guard, Dave. You'll be 100% right if this is exactly the direction they already are or heading. It looks to me that they're already there. They got action, didn't they? Hard to say. They're working a plan. They tried to make things better. However, the mayor of Ottawa just didn't. Oh, we're being asked what was missed. Jive with the city's effort. I think the city is trying to show that. Right. So the city of Ottawa was asking questions of Windsor, and it was kind of like, where is she going to go with this, or what was she doing with this? And city of Ottawa, their position minus the mayor, so just Steve Kay and the chief of staff, and even a little bit Councillor Deans, the board chair, did seem like they were dealing with couple police issues where they were not working together, but the city itself was going to work an issue out. So I think the city's position at this point is not necessarily to blame a whole bunch of people. It's to show that they were in a situation that was very, very difficult. Maybe she was trying to get the Windsor police to say something similar, that she can understand why things are so weird. I don't know. I'm not quite sure. But that's where I was thinking with that. The city was trying to show that they did what they could, and maybe kind of asking if Windsor felt the same way about their work. For or against the police. So you're asking about her. It's tough. It's tough, Dave. I don't know. It's tough to know if she's for or against the police. It's also tough to say that there's those two sides, because OPP is police, and they definitely are not. They're not, in my opinion, writing the same narrative or digesting the same narrative as the other ones. So I think there's the one group who overreacted with force. There's that group. And that exists in Windsor, and that exists in Ottawa, and that exists on the federal level. The group that overreacted with force, I would put them onto one side. And then everybody else that was either witness to it or a victim of it would be on the other side. And that's why the OPP would fit on that side, because they witnessed it. The overuse of force, the request for illegal activity, the request for snatch and grab, that kind of stuff. They witnessed it. And then there's everybody else who was actually affected by it. That's how I would separate these two groups, because that even puts the city on like in the middle ground. Because the city, yeah, they did barriers, they didn't move them, but it wasn't the city who was, grabbing people and hitting people. So I would put them maybe in the center on that one, Dave. It's hard to say. City of Ottawa, yeah, we're just identifying for you. Hey, Stunt. All right, so Stunt found the words. He did the sleuthing. He did the reporting, and it is what it kind of looked like. We're not saying it's nothing, but it certainly looks like an event that happened a couple of days ago. It got twisted a bit into a Convoy 2.0, and I'm just really proud that our side doesn't take that kind of bait, and they do have a skeptical mind. So we do look for the truth, even if it's stuff that we would be excited about. Yeah, so there you go. Yeah, so discuss the turnout and the pushback. There's people running with it a little bit more. Clickbait was a good term. I still don't like that kind of information, of course. We want truth. I just said at one point there were 40 arrests, Jay. Yeah, but they didn't break them down. And during that period of time, like here's one thing railroaded. I think I covered that in my next point. Yeah, like we hear 40 arrests. But were they 40 arrests in the city? Like, did they just give us the number of all the arrests for Windsor for that day? And does that mean when protesters are in town, crime goes to zero? There's no more crime anywhere else, and all crimes attributed to just protesters when they're in the city? What are the 40? And what kind? I think there would be a lot more details on that if they were serious, right? But yeah, thanks, Railroaded. Thanks for keeping a good ear. And when I miss stuff, that's amazing that you dropped that into me. And did you poke around in the back end? You got the invite? You're able to get in? Okay, so folks, we got less than half an hour. Look at that. Half an hour went by so quick. So I'm going to do my best here. A lot of laughing and stuff. I'm gonna guess that those are all my amazing jokes, and you guys think I should go on the road. And watch out, dying along. Another comedy group, maybe some memeing. Maybe we'll meet someday. Take care, Jeremy. I hope you get out of there soon, bud. Don't know what happened. Don't know what's going on. I'm not condoning any bad things that you may have done. I just don't believe that people should be held without bail unless there's some circumstances that require it. And he doesn't even have the details of, why he's still there. So hopefully it either comes out that it's justified or not. Let's get this done. Families, friends, would we be considered to be planning something violent? Pillow fight. You didn't even throw snowballs, Railroad. They didn't even throw snowballs. And no, what's the point of violence? Violence bestows violence. You're going to give violence, you'll get some back. We don't want violence back. We want freedom. Freedom. Honk, honk. The User Humane Society threatened to take dogs. They did, but the Humane Society are the first that said no. And the same thing happened with CPS. CPS did go there. There was rumor that they were there, but CPS also quickly said, look, we're not seeing any problems here. And CPSs are not pawns, and they know they get used as pawns all the time. Mad neighbors, mad spouses, mad grandmas, all the time. CPS is getting false reporting all the time. And it's sad that it happens, but God bless them because they still follow up on every one of them. And even though it's a repeat from the same one, they have to check because that one day it may not be a false alarm. But they did go. They did go and check out the conditions children were in. Very few children were actually there. A lot of the children involved were in rooms staying with their parents, and very few children were there. And the ones that were there, pillow, bed, heat, as long as the government didn't steal all their gas, they were doing all right. Not a single frostbitten toe. Okay, people? And not just in a testament. Go after the people that took away their bouncy castles. Look, we had a place for the kids to be safe and fun. It was called downtown Ottawa. Safe and fun, the entire place for them. Yeah, I remember threatening to take their kids. Grrr. Yeah, kids and dogs. Those came out, and that upset people. But again, this is all part of the provoking. Every single step was to provoke them here, see if they'll go. Well, let's do it now. Are they going to move the kids out? Are they ready to fight? Like, this is a lesson for everybody. The inquiry said Children's Aid Society was upset that they were 100% stunt, 100%, and that came out at the time. I just said that too. That came out at the time. The CPS was not pleased. They did go. they checked out a few places because I think maybe a resident or maybe somebody with the last name Fleury or McKinney or somebody like that was showing them around or something like that. But no, they were displeased because they got better things to do, quite frankly. They do care about children, and this is not a situation for them. So yeah, that's right, Stunt. That came out right away. CPS came in and then left. They didn't even take a doll. They were not pleased to have been summoned like that. As upset the rest of Canada was about it, why didn't they stand up and say no back then? You know what? Railroaded, not a lot. Not a lot was even looking at the truth, railroaded. Not a lot. And Ottawa is full of residents who work for the government. Number one employer in Ottawa is the federal government. Not a surprise there, but it is. So you can actually understand why even residents would be quiet. Can't speak up too harsh unless you're speaking up against what the government's fighting. So look, even the lack of lots of people speaking up is a testament to people were for it. But look, this is tough. And in railroad, I go through this one all the time too, because you think it should be just as easy to stand on guard for these, is what we should be doing. But even for me to make the decision to go from private to public was hard. And my first instincts are to be selfish, like take care of yourself and take care of your family. But on a micro level, that would be very selfish. On a macro level, where you zoom out a bit, it is what I'm doing. I am being selfish because I want to take care of my family long term more than just tomorrow. This is why I have to go into public life, do what I can to protect them long term. It's not for everybody. And especially when you have government doing things like freezing bank accounts. That was a big one. That was a big one for a lot of people. Even when I put up my own donation page, I was worried that people would be worried about that. Canadian Constitution Foundation, at the end of their videos, they say, please donate, help us out. We're fighting for you, but don't worry, your money's safe and your account won't be blocked. That was a big one, railroaded, for a lot of people when the government did that. To this day, there's still a ripple effect on that one. Hey, Dave, you will not be told if kids were taken. One, it doesn't suit their narrative, and they know it would create uproar. No, Dave, the complete opposite. They would want the uproar, and they would have told us if there was a single child with a dirty diaper. They definitely would have told us that, because then all of the truckers would have been painted with that brush. So if CPS went on the TV and said, we relocated one toddler, that would have been everywhere. And to create uproar with who? The people outside of Ottawa or the people in Ottawa doing the protesting? Because the people outside of Ottawa wouldn't have done a darn thing about it, because even the fact that their rights were being violated wasn't enough for them to speak up. So they wouldn't spoken up for one of these occupiers' children. No, they wouldn't have. I believe that the federal government, had there been a child that they could have put in front of the camera and said, we rescued this child, they would have done exactly that, blurred the face or talked about it. But no, CPS came in, stomped away because they were annoyed that they were called in for that, because they were in for real stuff, and this is not real stuff. Those children were loved, of course. They were taken care of course. Plenty of food, of course. Plenty of friends to play with, of course. Nothing wrong. It was dirty pool. Yeah, that's the way I think railroad. They were doing everything to provoke. Name calling, children, jobs, turning Canadians against Canadians, turning families against families, pushing them, threatening them, bank accounts, insurance, your actual trucks. We're going to do all of these things to you if you continue to complain to us. No kidding, dirty pool. That's a nice way to put it, railroad. I'm about to post some indirectly from. Go ahead. Yeah. Clear it up. Nothing better than correcting the record and making people comfortable with the truth. We don't need false information out there, Stunt. So thank you very much for doing that. To my knowledge, no one is planning Freedom Convoy 2. Correct. I agree with you. I'm not planning it. No one I know is planning it. And to my knowledge, Premier Alberta is certainly not planning it. I agree with that, Stunt. I think it'd be very clear. There'd be no confusion around it if that was the case. If that article was anywhere near the truth, there'd be no confusion about it. I think they're just dovetailing on her stance. clickbaiting a bit for the clicks and recycling some more old information. And for me, the stunt going to that one website, that Freedom whatever website, and seeing it so stale, it was so old news. That's kind of where I started to stop the path because it looked like recycled information. It happens. I suspect there's a representative who was confused by the Trudeau Must Go convoy that took place on Saturday. Confused? No, nobody's perfect. So TFI Global, if you're listening to this, go take a look. That article seems to be very sus. Unless they're a stunt, there's more that they have that we don't have. Maybe the people didn't update their website, but yeah, they did call CTV and say, yeah, no, we are doing something. This is just a start. But nothing official. And when I say official, I mean accepted within the community that it's happening. I don't see that part happening right now. I am not serving as Danielle Smith's close aide. With that being said, it sounds like a great position. If I was offered the position, I certainly would consider it. Stunt, you would be awesome for it too. Oh, you'd be awesome for it. But Ottawa needs you too. And don't turn your back on Ontario. We might need you there too. If it's Alberta, Saskatchewan, Ontario, we're going to need all of us everywhere. But you rock, Stunt. They'd be honored to have you. It would be their pleasure. I find that the value that Danielle Smith emphasized resonates. Her words do. Okay, so look, same here, Stunt. You know, it's like music to my ears. But her major press conference where she came out and listed off all the things that she was going to do, one thing that she did say that I didn't like was that she's going to continue with ESG scores. That is a social credit system. Okay. So I think either she doesn't know what the ESG scores are because she named it. She said environmental, social, governance scores. Either she doesn't know what they are or there's trouble in the henhouse because that's a WEF thing. Like it's a major driver on how they control corporations and businesses through the capital markets using ESG scores. So I'm pretty hopeful that she was just stumbling through the whole, I don't want to shoot everything my predecessor did, so let me try and grab one program that I can kind of put my hooks into, feeling a little bit good about. And then she heard environmental and thought, oh, okay, well, that's somewhat green. Doesn't say carbon in it. Therefore, it's probably safe for me to attach my name to. Threw her hooks into it, thinking that that was something decent. Without realizing, she just put her hook into one of the ugliest fish there is, ESG scores. So hopefully she and her team said, oh, misspoke there. I meant not liking ESG scores. That and Henshaw still has a job. Stunt. So that and Henshaw still has a job. Henshaw should be fired. She should be fired. Her bonuses alone should have her fired. She made $250,000 in bonuses, something like that. And we have 3,362 unexplained deaths in 2001. And that's a 640% increase from 2019. That needs to be explained. Henshaw's to explain it. Henshaw says nothing. Henshaw should be fired. But Stunt, other than those two flags, because don't ignore flags when you see them, yeah, she is saying everything that sounds right. I could say the same thing about Pierre, though, Pouvelet. He says a lot of things right, but there's some actions that he should be taking that would resonate better with me. We'll see. We'll see. I'm still cautiously optimistic, Stunt, and I will stand behind her on this fight if it's real, for sure. She's saying the right things. On Tuesday, October 11th, you're going back a little bit, the day that Danielle Smith was sworn in as premier. Holy smokes, already. Really? That was fast. That month went by fast. She pledged to govern Alberta with the core values of freedom, faith, family, community, and free enterprise. True. And she also said within 3 months, she'll be updating the Human Rights Code of Alberta to include medical procedures as a protected ground. It's a lot of words for saying an employer can't fire you for vax or non-vax. Straight up. If it's in the Human Rights Code of Alberta, that will affect employers, housing, and a few other things that are essential and key. You can't discriminate against. And if health is one of them, your vax status cannot be asked in Alberta. She said within 3 months she'll do that. Well, she's 1 month in. Got 2 more to go. Stunt. So let's see if she follows through with that. I want her to. I totally want her to. If she does that, other provinces might do it too. Furthermore, when possible, go right to the source of the story, the actual persons involved, and get the story right from them rather than merely the media. Double-edged sword, stunt. That's a double edge. People lie. Go right to the source and say, "Did you say?" And you can get a no comment. So, but your spirit is correct. What you're trying to do there is 100% correct. So stick it up. Keep doing it, but be willing to also accept that the sources lie too. But if it smells like a duck and walks like a duck and it sounds like a duck, fire up the barbecue. You're gonna have some duck for dinner. Thanks, Stunt. Good job, Railroad. Good job, Stunt. Yeah, you guys are a great team. You guys are awesome. We're going to do what we can to get the message out truthfully. And we're going to even redact and not redact, but fix up. There's a term for it. When the media screws up and they have to write a redaction. Retraction. There we go. I had to write a retraction. Some of you were sending it to me. I could hear it. A retraction. So even if we have to do one from time to time, no shame. That's just your ability to admit that you're make mistakes and that you catch mistakes and then move forward. No big deal. Just want to keep making the same ones over and over again. That's what we got to watch out for. It's not bad news. Correct, Stunt. I like your silver lining. It means that we don't have to go buy a truck tomorrow. Cool. And it's still Convoy 2.0, but it's not. But you know what? This went through my head too, Stunt. I don't want to sound too selfish and admit to it too much, but I was like, I'm not ready to join a convoy. Like, I got some more things to get squared away first. But I'm not going to be in my timeline's not going to control much. So if there is a convoy, I'm going to do what I can to get involved in this one. Love you guys. I want to see this firsthand this time. Big heart. Any particular reason why the green heart stunt? Just curious. Any particular reason? The Grinch. He turned out to be a good guy. Oh well, not the first time that we had to get to the bottom of that. Rumor has it. Probably won't be the last. May not even be the last today's Railroad, but good job on us for doing that. We all know that there's a particular side that would have just ran with any narrative that kind of worked. So good job to all of you for wanting the truth and clearly demonstrating that. Nah, the lead was good. Her crews are ready for one. They'll be added to the list. Yeah, I think there's where the smoke to this fire maybe at this one stunt, but there's no fire yet. Yeah, there needs to be a good message to Washington, Ottawa, that the provinces are fed up. We're ready to take a stand. And Ford, if you were telling the truth this morning, that would be really cool. That'd be really cool if Ottawa hears from Ontario, Alberta, Saskatchewan. You'll see BC and Manitoba follow quickly. Quebec is just chomping at the bit to get there, and the East will get there as well. When the East understands just how much resources, how much oil, how much money they actually have been restrained from working with, you guys will be fine. What's the name of that? Ewan oil. Yeah, you guys know. You know that if they can get restrictions lifted, you guys are going to employ like the entire East. I forgot to hit the like. Yeah, please, if you don't mind, hit the like. Today was a bit of a slow stream, not as big as the convoy draw. I don't mind. I'm here for the truth. So if there's 1 or 100, I'm absolutely happy to do the same thing here. But anything you can do to help us find more people would be great. It's not an ego thing. It's a trust and messaging thing. The more that gets out there, the better. And then as you saw with today's chat, the more sleuths like Railroaded and Stunt going out there, getting info and bringing it in for us, the better. This can only get better with sharing. Sharing is caring. So go ahead and share that one for me. Thank you. And Dave, I think it was a mayor that had all the decision making. That's why everything was in camera with him. So there were minutes of the meeting. A mayor? Oh, the mayor. Okay, I get it now. So I think it was the mayor that had all the decision making. Yeah, no, police board chief, mayor. Whew, who's gonna try and cross this guy? He's got the bald, the look. He's got the look of somebody with authority. Yeah, who's gonna cross this guy? Don't think many people, because he likes to just do what he wants, right? I don't mean during the comedy. I mean now, even now. Yeah, okay, yeah, for sure. So in camera, even now. He had enough power to say, hey, here's a meeting with the police that we're not going to record. It's quite a bit of power. Okay, folks, I got less than 10 minutes, so I'm going to keep an eye on that. That info is directly from Banana. I'm quoting her. Yeah, thank you, Stunt. I think you got it from her Facebook, is what you're saying. You went and looked it up. She's the one who owns the Stale website, and she's saying that all the stuff you're reading because CTV's story is fake news. Wow, even I guess we shouldn't be surprised that CTV is doing fake news. So CTV trying to seed a new false narrative about Convoy 2.0 Alberta. Interesting. Let's keep an eye on that one, Stunt. We may have to make it true on them. That could be a backfire. Federal government employees in 2010. Oh, wow. That's a lot. Oh, wow. They grew quite a bit in just 10, 11 years. Okay. Time to downsize that beast. You're right. My first instinct, Norman, as I saw those numbers, that's large. That's large. And look, before we start worrying about people and their paycheck, if we have federalism roll back and pull back, there will still be work on the local levels and lower levels in government. So just because we shrink our federal government, it doesn't mean we're going to shrink the need for people who have the skills of government. We're just going to need them on local levels more, which is fine. You should be working on a local level anyways. So if you're in government and you enjoy public service, you should be doing it more for your riding, your region, than it is some national agenda or global agenda. But good point there, Norman. That's a pretty large employer. And quite a few of them are in the Ottawa region. Not all, but quite a few. They are the number one employer for Ottawa, number one taxpayer. Jim bragged about that on his testimony. The things these people brag about. I used to make mechanic content and did builds for Discovery Channel. Congratulations, Stunt. You're working with Discovery Channel. What's the name of that company? Chorus Media? Chorus was in Toronto, down in the in that district. They used to make all the beer down there. Distillery District. Yeah, there you go. Chorus. Quite a few friends down there. I used to work just down the street from them. My builds got sponsored by a screen printing supply company, and their company color was called Cat Spit Green. Cool. Yeah, and Stunt, I'm really glad we met because you were somebody that got red pilled at the convoy. And you're a special human that can really, even with your mask in front of you, still see the truth. Thank you for that, Stunt, and thanks for sharing that. I had to paint everything that color for the sponsorship, and it grew on me. Cat Spit Green. Yeah, shake the name of the hand that came up with that name because my favorite color. That's cool, Stunt. Maybe you should do some merch or something with it. I also lost my voice screaming freedom at the convoy, and subs were saying I sounded like Kermit. The Honk Army was originally Kermit Army, so he sounded like Jordan Peterson. Then he sounds like Kermit, doesn't he? The green hearts came from one of our others, from one or the other. Nice. Okay, so there's a green Kermit Army heart. Well, thanks for sharing. Thanks for sharing what the green heart means. All right, about 5 minutes. Cat Spit Green is my daughter's fave color now for years and years. The Juice's fave too. He likes green. Hey, Juice, I think you're in here sometimes, right? Yep, the green ones are for Stunt and Honk. Cool. I've done shows with Chorus Media too. Yeah. Do you remember Bill Wichka from Much Music? Oh, he wasn't the temp, was he? No, the temp was another guy. The temp became a permanent. Oh my, Much Music when it was a good station. Played music, had good content, had Speaker's Corner. It was fun. Oh, I kind of wish those days could come back. I kind of sort of wish and don't at the same time. I kind of like our high-tech world. It's pretty cool too, but there was something great about Much Music, having TV stations, having to go and check something out at 7 o'clock because it was a premiere. Those times were fun. Sure, it's kind of neat that Netflix gives us everything in a go and we can rewind and pause live TV, and I guess, but the more I go through this kind of stuff, the older I get, the more I kind of reminisce back to when it was just way simpler, way simpler. And if you're in Saskatchewan, my real simple time was Saskatoon. I think about grade 9 is when I moved to Manitoba. Yeah, grade 9. Prior to that, it was Saskatoon. Gosh, it was such a simpler time. You could walk across the entire city in It took just hours. It took hours. I remember doing that as a kid once. It was lovely. Bill was one of their fave VJs. Yeah, what was that temp one name? It's bugging me now. Let me look it up. Something the temp. Not Peter the temp. Music temp. Rick the temp. There it is. Rick the temp. Yes, Rick the temp. He was a temp and he became permanent. It was like there for the longest time. But yeah, VJing when it was a real VJ thing. That was neat. Good times. Thank you all. Lots of green hearts. A great group. We'll spread Jason Lavigne everywhere for the upcoming coverage. Like COVID, spread me. Yeah, thank you so much, Eleanor. We do have a good time. It is fun. Sorry about the hiccups with the Starlink today. Today was not a power issue. Looks like we're getting the hang of it. And I'm going to keep you there, Railroaded. We're going to chat after I close the end broadcast, so you don't have to go live. Stick around, Railroaded. I'll take us offline. Stunt. There was also Master T. Master T. Yes. And there was some good high school sock hop music back then. They would come to your school and put on shows and stuff. I remember that. Oh my. Good old days. Those were the days. Hanging with Bill was really cool. All right, Stunt. Everybody, you guys have some green hearts. You guys have some great time. Have a great night, everyone. We'll all see you tomorrow. Just to give you a recap on who we're expecting tomorrow. We're expecting Dana Earley, superintendent from the Ontario Provincial Police, and Paul Letscheid, a cabinet maker. All right. So have yourself a great night. It was fun. Oh, one more from Goose. Bye all. Great stream, Jason. Talk later. You got it, Goose. We'll all see you tomorrow, 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Inquiry starts at 9:30. We'll be there. We'll have a chat. We'll see what's available to recap with. We'll keep an eye on this Ford thing. Sounds like it's not coming. We'll keep an eye on Convoy 2.0. Sounds like it's not coming. But at the end of the day, wonderful chat, wonderful group. You all have a great night. Take care, Clay. And God bless. Bye.
And if you liked this video, remember to like and subscribe and press that notification button to receive more information like this. You can also follow me at yellowhead.vote to stay informed and get the inside scoop. Thank you.